Okay, good evening. This is the too much paper today. Okay, this is the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Peoria Heights, Monday, June 1st. Matt, will you call roll?
Nico? Charlie?
Here.
Janie?
Here.
Rick?
Present.
Tessie?
Here.
I'm here. Mike?
Yes.
Steve?
Here. Okay. We do have a quorum because we have 5 or more. Second order of business is to approve the minutes from April 16th, 2020. Everybody should have one of those in their packet and already have gotten them via email, so if there's any questions, corrections. If not, a motion would be in order to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Okay, so I know we have a lot of people. We have people outside, and we'll kind of do this in waves if we have to. But as we do each one of these, if you're not here for this particular variance application or site plan approval, and somebody outside is, and they want to swap with you, just be generous in letting them come in. It looks like we may be okay. We don't have a big crowd outside yet. So the first one is a variance application by Dave Marfell seeking a setback variance to permit reconstruction of the new garage in the same location as the original garage on the property. It's located at 1013 East Euclid Avenue. So Dave, you want to come up and kind of just tell the board what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, good evening. My name is David Marfell. This is my wife, Michelle. We are the property owners at 1013 East Euclid in Peoria Heights, and we are here for a zoning variance request. This request is for a variance in reference to the construction of a new one-stall garage. It's 12 foot wide, 24 long on the west side of the listed address and property. The new garage does not comply with current zoning setbacks, as the west wall of the new garage would sit adjacent to the most western property line. And I attached a drawing of the property to the paperwork that I submitted. The reason for this request of variance is that the new garage is set to be constructed in the exact same spot on the property as the original garage, which was torn down in 2019 due to its condition. The original garage was in such condition that the insurance company would not insure the structure on our homeowner's insurance policy. It's unknown why the original garage was built in that spot that did not conform to zoning requirements. And due to the setup of the current concrete driveway and the backyard location, a change in location on the property for a garage to conform to zoning standards is not possible. The property owner who would most be affected next door at 1009 Euclid is aware of the new garage construction and that it would need a zoning variance, and he is okay with that action, and he has signed a letter that is also attached. A survey on the property lines was recently completed by Consolidated Land Surveying out of Peoria, and I also attached some pictures of the land survey. And then there's also some pictures attached that show the original garage, the best ones that I had, and then I also added an overhead view of the property which shows the original garage in its place.
So the concrete that's there now look like footings are ready to
let me explain that. So I was under the understanding that if I was going to tear down a new garage and build a new one, I did not need to have zoning. I put the foundation down for the garage, and through my conversations with village officials, I found out that I need to come to you guys, so that's why that has already been poured.
But that west side is exactly where the garage sat?
Yes, exactly,
Right.
yeah, yep. Yeah, it lines up with the driveway that's been there since we moved in 2002.
Yep. Anybody on the board have a question for? And I don't know if you've looked at it, if you went out there and looked at it, it's pretty obvious, you know, that the garage was set up that way. You really can't move it over. He's got a fence and a pool and all sorts of stuff in his yard now, so.
Yeah, I think this is exactly like what we had pretty much last week or last month, that old garage needed to go. It has gone, and we're putting one right back in its place. It's no change. In fact, it's a beautification of the neighborhood. It sounds pretty straightforward in my mind.
There was, so do you have any other questions for Dave? Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So are there any public comments? Is anybody here for this garage variance? Okay, so there was one letter that I handed out, but if you just peruse that letter quickly, there's nothing in the letter that even addresses the variance. So I'm inclined to not even enter this in the record. I mean, it's about other issues in the neighborhood. It's not even about the garage, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I just got this, so what's stated in this?
Well, you can read through it
Okay,
real
I'll
quick.
read through it.
I just don't, I'm not going to read it out loud,
Yeah.
per se, unless people feel that it's pertinent to the garage.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Just for clarification, I think I know what that letter is referring to, and the pool was approved by zoning in 2015, I believe, so just so you guys know that.
I think maybe we should just include it in the minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of-
And unless anybody feels differently, there's nothing really even about the garage.
Yeah, this is
in
about
there.
other stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I didn't feel it necessary to read it and cause a bunch of
Okay.
issues. Okay. So public testimony is closed. We do not have any other letters in regards to this particular variance. So is there any other question on this, or, and then, gosh.
You don't have anything to check.
When was the old garage taken down? Luckily, I have some.
Would have been July of 2019, about a year ago.
So about a year ago, okay. And how old's the house? It was,
The house is probably 1960, 1965.
so there's been a garage in that location.
Yeah,
You're just adding on to the garage?
no, I'm just replacing the garage and it's
So
actually.
it's always been 12 by 24?
Yes.
Okay. Same height, everything?
Yep.
Okay.
It like looks like it needs done. Just like, it was super similar to the last one, like,
Yeah.
it's probably time.
Well, it's like Matt's comment too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same thing.
It's just the
that
I
they
feel the same.
perplexed with that garage. It's like Dave said, also how it landed up there ever since day one, who knows? I mean,
Right.
you're trying to take care of the old, you took care of the old garage, and trying to put something new up. It's basically the same footprint. Obviously, the neighbor on the adjoining property is good with it. I mean, that's the same case as
Yeah.
the other one.
Agreed. So should we,
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I
Okay.
didn't have any of those printed out, so I'm going to have to.
it's all good.
So we'll go through the standards for variation. will a strict application of the terms of the zoning code related to the use, construction, or alternation of the buildings or structures or use to the land impose practical difficulties or particular hardship upon the petitioner, yes or no?
So you say yes or no, we might go through.
Will this pose a particular difficulty or particular hardship on the petitioner if we say he has to be 3 feet from the property line?
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, these yes or no questions are sometimes, you got to think, am I saying yes or no? If the variation is granted, the property affected by the variation will remain in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Yes.
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 The approval of the variation will not merely serve as a convenience to the petitioner, but is necessary to alleviate some demonstrable hardship on the petitioner.
Say that again.
It's not merely a convenience, but a necessity to alleviate a demonstrable hardship, to not have the garage
As is.
as is versus moving it.
Yes.
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 Can the variation requested by a petitioner be granted without substantial detriment to the public good? Can it be, can the
For the
variation?
record, this is my first meeting,
Yeah,
so my
that's okay.
first time hearing these kinds of questions.
It's okay, we all have done this. Can the variation requested by the petitioner be granted without substantial detriment to the public good?
Yes.
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 Okay. Can the proposed variance be approved without impairing the general purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan as implemented by the zoning code?
Yes.
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 And then it doesn't involve a fence, so that's an NA. Okay, so then a motion to approve the request as made with no conditions would be in order, if somebody wants to make that motion.
Motion made.
Seconded.
Okay, motion to approve the request is made by Mike Wu, seconded by Matt Wigington. Any other discussion on that? Okay, call the roll, Matt.
Charlie.
So you say like I.
Aye. Oh, yeah. Aye.
Janie.
Yes.
Rick.
Aye.
Tessie.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mike.
Aye.
Steve. Motion carries.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Coming.
Thank you, and
Good luck.
you got lucky.
Make it beautiful.
You get to leave. Okay, mint number 2.
Do we need to ask anybody outside if they need to?
Yeah.
So they have speakers out there.
Oh, they
so
do, okay.
When I read this, then we'll check with them. Okay, number 2 on the agenda tonight, a conditional use, special use approval filed by War Memorial Paris Real Estate Trust seeking approval of a conditional use permit for an adult use cannabis dispensary for the property located at 828, 900, 904, and 908 East War Memorial Drive, and 829 through 911 East Paris Avenue, Peoria Heights, Illinois. The property is currently zoned B2, so there isn't an issue with zoning. So this is a special use, and then we will turn right around and do the site plan. So let's first deal with the special use permit. And so, do you remember right in late last year, in December, we passed, or we sent an ordinance to the village board that was passed for adult use cannabis dispensaries, had 5, 6 different types of businesses. One of them was a dispensary. We've had one special use for the village to start with, so this would be the one in the ordinance. And so is somebody here representing War Memorial Paris Real Estate Trust? Come on down, and I'm not sure if you guys have hookup.
I'm Steve Kerr with Moore & Kerr Engineering. I prepared the site plan that you see, and I have Jim Hubler here with War Memorial Paris Real Estate Trust and Kanika Hendricks with Leaf Dimensions. And
So we're going to deal with the special use first, so I don't want to jump right into a site plan yet. So
Okay.
first, from the special use, does anybody have any questions around just the special use itself, business model, hours of operation, and all that type of information? I mean, those are the questions I have is,
Yeah, same.
I mean, basically, the operation of it is basically dictated by the state license. So and I believe the village passed some hours of operation
Correct.
that they would abide. I think everything that's in the city's, or the village's zoning ordinance for this facility would be abided by.
Okay.
We're not asking for any variances or anything to the special use, and we would operate on those hours.
so what I'm not sure, from just a dispensary question, since this is our first one. So you have people, they come in, they buy the marijuana. Where do you get it from, and how does that work? Is that...
Basically, there's licensed growers and licensed manufacturers of the candies and everything.
Yeah.
And all the different items, and that is all purchased through those licensed growers throughout the state. And so you're not buying it from...
Yeah. I assume that, but is there, I guess, how often are deliveries? Do we know that, or?
The deliveries generally will come, is there a safe room? Yeah, so basically, the deliveries come in through one door that's kind of a sally port type door, so they're secured inside the building, loading and unloading.
Okay. So from a special use questions, does anybody have any questions? I mean, really, they have to abide by what's in the ordinance and the state law. And
Well, but just for my knowledge, what are the operating hours?
Mark, do you know what?
Honestly,
It's 8 to 7.
8 in the morning till 7 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 6 days a week or 7? I can't remember.
7 days a week.
Okay.
And that's what's in your ordinance.
I've drawn up like 7 of those ordinances. I can't remember what are.
well, and we had how many copies of it?
That's another thing.
I just so that I understand, I was looking back at our zoning minutes from when this ordinance was passed, and so I just want to make sure I understand. I know there was some discussion on how many feet the facility would be from a school or a daycare or a religious facility, and I think this board voted 500 feet when we did it. Is that what, Mark, is that still?
That was the final approved ordinance, was 500.
500 feet.
Yep.
I don't think that's correct. I think it was, you couldn't advertise within 500 feet. The facility, I think, could be closer than that.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was 1,000 for advertisement and 100 for school.
Yeah, I think it's 100. I think the facility is 100.
I
and
know that issue went back
It's
and
100
forth with the
feet,
board.
I believe.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the, I have the ordinance here, just a second.
Yeah, I think it's 100 feet, and you can't advertise within 500 feet.
Was that changed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
The village board changed that language. We approved it as 500, I believe, and it went to the village board, and they changed it to 100.
You know what,
Because that's 100
You're
is
right.
the same as the liquor store.
liquor, yep, you're right.
So it's the same, right?
Can we just jump right to it? How close are you to the nearest school,
I bel-
daycare, or
I believe
church?
Yeah, pardon?
We're right next door to the.
We're right next door to a liquor store, but the school, yeah, it's 170.
At least 200, it's around 200 feet.
Yeah, so it's across, it's across War Memorial and behind the rental spot.
So it's the Peoria Christian.
And I can tell you, while I don't recall exactly that it was 500 feet or 100 feet, when this application came in, and it's been at least a couple of months ago, I did all the measurements and satisfied myself that it fit our criteria, or it wouldn't have gotten this far.
Right.
Got it.
Having a problem putting my finger on the ordinance, but I'm pretty sure that,
The problem is the new codifier is not up to date, and I think that one is, I think they're only up to about the end of 2019, and that was adopted right at the end of 2019, so it's probably not yet online. I was looking for it tonight too, and couldn't find it.
well, I was looking, I know I got a hard copy of it too, but I can't seem to put my finger on that one either, so. So, any other questions on that?
No, that's it.
So any other questions regarding special use before we move on to the site plan?
Is the,
Are you going to take the?
We're going to do the
public
findings of
comments
facts separately, but I figured
Okay.
maybe we'd have more questions about special
That makes
use once
sense.
we hear the,
I was going to say, you can almost combine them.
yeah. But I just wanted to get any of the special use questions out in the open first, and then,
I just had a question about the operators. Have they ever operated anything similar to this previously?
Yes, we do have, yes, we have CEOs and we have operators. We have people who have been down into, what's the county plant?
Oh, sorry, just speak into the
So
microphone.
this is part of a management group that they've operated several medical marijuana facilities. They have 5 licenses in Missouri, and not all the same people are on the same dispensaries as owners, but there's a lot of mutual ownership that has experience in running a dispensary.
So there's probably 9 or 10 dispensaries.
Yeah, so they operate 9 or 10 dispensaries.
Okay.
so what is the, then just from the special use, so what is the licensing from the state? I thought that have they granted the licenses then? Is this
And they'll kick in here. The license from the state, basically, they can award that anytime after June 1st, which is today. They, of course, didn't award any today. So from this point on, there'll be some date that,
there was certain number of licenses in each,
yes,
like,
right.
district or something, right?
State
And then,
It's 3 in this area, in the Peoria County area, it's 3.
3? And so none of them have been?
The state of Illinois hasn't awarded any license. They were supposed to do it February 1st? May 1st, and then they extended it, and then now we're just waiting. With the COVID, they pushed a lot of things back. So I think altogether they'll award 75 statewide.
So there isn't a dispensary here already in Peoria?
They have,
In Peoria, there is.
East Peoria.
yeah.
The medical license holders got automatic.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
License for adult use.
So there'll be
And that-
3 more
Correct.
after June
Correct.
1st
Correct.
in this district? Okay. And the district, I assume, includes Peoria Heights?
Peoria, Tazewell, Stark, and Marshall, I believe. Might be Woodford.
Okay. So what do you, I mean, obviously, if we're going to look at the site plan, that's what you're going to do if you get a license, but if you don't get a license, then what's the plan, or?
One of the partners has a interest in another dispensary here in Peoria that would possibly, they would talk to them about moving, but I can't speak for that person, but that is the option. So we really probably would go forward with the lot and the building if we didn't get one of those 3 licenses, so.
I got a question about just the traffic that's going in there. I mean, the only way to get to it is behind that kind of back alley, kind of like if you're going to
Paris.
Cruisins? Is that kind of like?
Paris.
That's, there's a city street, Paris is back there.
Okay.
So why don't we move to the site plan, because that's a site plan
Okay.
question. So
Okay.
if you, so we have them here.
Yeah, I think since.
Yeah, it's the
these
third
questions
sheet
will come
there.
up From that.
Yep. So which page do you want us on, this one, or?
Yeah, that's the site plan.
So it's like the third page? You have one?
I don't have the big, I've got a smaller one.
Is there another one down there?
Yeah.
A,
Here,
B, C.
I'll pass it. Sorry.
So East Paris Avenue is a city street, and War Memorial up on 150 is access controlled, so there's no access allowed off of 150. So the access into this lot is off of Paris.
So you would take, off War Memorial, you take the road which is next to Super Liquors there
Right,
to get
correct.
to, okay.
Or there's an intersection to like the east, right?
It intersects Prospect where you get into Walgreens.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you access off of Paris onto Walgreens.
Or there's I think there's like a Proctor First Care.
Yeah, and there's also a city street between Walgreens and the First Prompt Care or whatever.
Yeah.
This is like the music place. Yeah, Flores Music.
Yeah.
It's not a city street, it's a village.
We own it. Right on. Can you tell me a little bit about the stormwater retention area? I saw that and I'm very interested in it.
The stormwater right now, we haven't finalized any stormwater design.
Okay.
The lot drains from north to south.
Okay.
We have a placeholder in there for a stormwater detention area.
Okay.
The outlet to that is likely going to have to be piped down Paris to some inlets down on the corner of Paris and whatever the road is to the north-south road to the west.
Okay.
Illinois.
And I did walk this lot, and there was like some brick structures and looked like some cement structures there. Or those have been, because it seemed like, not like built-up structures, but like some
Old
footings.
foundations.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll all be cleared out.
Okay.
And
That would
there's
be the parking lot, it looks like.
Yeah, and there's a power line that runs through right now. We're looking at either putting a parking place where a power pole is, or we may have to adjust the movement of a power, because there's a power line easement that runs through the old alley there.
And all the traffic will come in the back. There won't be.
Pardon?
I'm sorry. All the traffic will come in the back. There's no door in the front.
There's no door in front, there's no entrance in front.
So aesthetically, what we see on that proposed drawing here is the front of the building, and then on the back, it'll be somewhat similar to like
Yeah,
Super Liquors.
it's almost like you have
So
two
there's
fronts.
There's a front and a back.
Okay. Oh, okay.
In other words, the side-facing War Memorial, it has a door, but that's not access. So that's not access. That's probably a required rear exit door or fire door or something.
Okay.
But that won't be access into the building.
And for security, will be good too.
Yeah, I mean, the security of the whole place is governed by
The
the
statute.
state and what you can and can't do.
So this fence on the left-hand side of the west-hand side, west part of the building is what you were talking about, the loading?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
would
they
the
pull-
truck just back up into?
Yeah, they
the
pull into
interior?
that, they'd shut the gate, and then they'd unload the truck, and that fence would not be like a chain link razor wire or anything. I think we called it out as aluminum, like, to make it look like a wrought iron 6-foot security fence.
But let me make sure, but not barbed wire or anything?
No, I mean, it's, yeah, it's a fence to keep somebody from just walking right up to the van.
Okay.
So any other questions on the site plan? So is the actual, like, siding on this building, is it like a, I saw some other pictures of this
I think if you look at the
mega
last
rib or
page,
whatever.
if you look at the yeah, it's like a heavier,
But that's not the roof, that's the side.
that's the siding, yes.
Because it's me and I will always ask about green space. Right now, the lot has basically nothing. It's just like asphalt and brick and nothingness. And in the picture that you showed, it's beautiful. You planted trees and you have green space along the front, or at least where the front where people are parking. Will you like follow through with that? Are you going to have that green space and the trees and the grass there?
Well, what we're trying to do is create a buffer of some sort
Right.
between the residents that are across the street. And
course.
the village doesn't have
We don't yet.
a buffer requirement or anything
Not
like
yet,
that.
yeah.
So that was our attempt
Totally,
at,
that's what I thought, and I wanted to make sure.
yeah, that's our
trees or
attempt at
whatever.
trying to buffer the parking lot from the neighbors.
Yes. And I'm sure that we'll talk about if anybody's here with the neighborhood later.
I don't think so.
What about the back of the building, which is actually on War Memorial? I mean, has there been any consideration to have any sort of, on your rendering, there's no landscaping or anything there? I know it's the back, but it is
The
part
face
of the
of
building.
Well, the face of the building is right on the property line,
Okay,
and that lines up with the two buildings adjacent to it.
sure.
So we didn't want to set the building back. There's some properties along there that the buildings are set back and you don't see them very well. So to get the,
So you're not allowed to put the landscaping there because it's not your property?
Pardon?
So you're not allowed to put the landscaping?
oh, we could put it back further, but we chose to match the two buildings
I think she's
adjacent.
just talking
Yeah,
about
it's
where it's at now.
Yeah, because, would you be allowed to put some, like, keeping the building in the same spot as you have it currently? Would you be allowed to put some small shrubs or something like that on that side?
So she's talking between the building and the sidewalk is what you show here,
Yeah.
that there's grass,
Yeah, maybe
Right.
that's what the rendering shows.
but I don't know. if
Yeah,
it-
that grass strip is on IDOT right away.
Okay,
So that's, that grass
Means
strip.
the village doesn't control it.
Right, I
IDOT
know.
does, so.
so they're,
So they couldn't really with the building as is?
Yeah, we haven't shown plantings in property that's not ours. That doesn't mean that IDOT wouldn't give us a permit to do
Okay.
it on the backside of the sidewalk, but we haven't asked that.
okay. Just, in my opinion, and if that was allowed by IDOT, it would be nice to have small, so I know you wouldn't have trees or
Typically
anything.
not,
I know, they're-
because then it's theirs, so you'd have to enter into an agreement, and then you get lawyers, no offense. In other words, we could probably do it by permit, but we'd have to go through the motions to
Okay.
do that.
I think definitely the trees you show on the side of the building in the front, facing Warren Drive. See these,
Yeah,
right?
on the
I mean, that
east and
would
west
be-
side.
Desirable.
Yeah,
It's
we've
better than what it is
attempted
now.
to provide landscaping that would be, that you'd like to see.
But that door back there, facing War Memorial, that's not accessible to.
That won't have
right?
any, it's accessible, I'm sure, to get out of in an
for probably
emergency, but
employees or
it's,
whoever.
yeah.
emergency exit.
Right. Just checking.
Okay. Any other questions on site plan, special use? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments either on the special use permit for the dispensary or the or the site plan for the dispensary. Is anybody here to comment on that at all? No one outside here for the dispensary discussion? And I don't have any letters that I'm aware of on dispensary, unless anybody wants to correct me. You haven't seen any, have you, Mark?
I have not.
Okay. Okay. Public comments are then closed. Do we have any other questions? Just doing the quick parking math, you know, they only need 16, 17 spots, so with that square footage, they have way more than that, so.
Well, I think one of the things that I was concerned with, and that's why I look back at the minutes from our November meeting, when we discussed this as a zoning board, was the distance between the schools and churches and daycare centers. But I think when we were envisioning this facility, this was kind of where we had envisioned it to begin with.
At least this area, right? I mean, that's
Right.
what we discussed at the time.
Right, yeah. So regardless of whether it was within what we thought it should be, it is what it should be, and it is where we thought it was going to go. And I think, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we have a dispensary in Peoria Heights, that limits further dispensaries from coming into Peoria Heights.
That's correct.
So far, unless we decide along the way that we want more, but.
Well, on the state
Correct.
statute, they can only be so close to this dispensary.
That's true. The state law prohibits another dispensary at
15.
least 1,000 feet. It might be more than that.
Yeah.
1,500 maybe. But we could certainly have another dispensary in Peoria Heights. That would take action of the village board to change the ordinance.
The ordinance,
Right now,
right,
the
yep.
ordinance limits it to one.
And this is right on Peoria Heights boundaries, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, because, you know, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, you know, south,
Right.
it would be Peoria.
and then what?
Maybe 4 block, 2 blocks.
London, Paris, Wilson,
Yep. And then, but then 2 blocks east is Peoria.
they'd be cruising down, it'd be right up into Wisconsin,
So west and north is Peoria Heights,
Right.
for the most part.
just like the east side of Prospect is Peoria.
And Mark, does the boundary line that we were referring to as far as the state statute, it has no acknowledgement of whether you're in Peoria Heights or in Peoria? It's,
Yeah, right. The state statute, when it came out 4 or 5 years ago for medical cannabis, had very strict setback limits from schools, churches, all the, you know, daycare, sensitive use areas. They sort of abandoned that with the adult use and allowed municipalities to more or less choose themselves,
but like,
leaving it to a board like this.
but if like Peoria wanted to have one on dispensary on War Memorial, our predating that.
Yes,
Would.
that would trump them, and
Okay.
they would have to stay 1,500 feet
Okay,
away.
okay.
And we still have the opportunity, I mean, depending on what comes our way, for different types of, like, not dispensaries, but like a grow op, or like one of each thing is what we decided. So
Right.
there's still potential for more growth in different areas, but.
Yeah, and in dispensary, right?
Right,
As we
even-
said.
yeah, there's
We'd take the
there's
village
enough
board,
space.
would have to change the ordinance and say 2
Yeah.
or 3.
Right.
But we're just like trying, seeing how it goes.
Okay. Any other questions on site plans, special use of the dispensary? I'll go through, we'll have to go through these questions twice, right, Mark? So these are the same type of questions, Charlie. So yes or no,
Special use first, right?
special use. The establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comforts, or general welfare.
Yes.
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 It's a hard one.
I guess this isn't asking me whether I agree or not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The special use will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted or substantially diminish and impair the property values within the neighborhood to which it is be located. So the special use will not be injurious, so that's a yes or a no. It's kind of a double negative.
I'm not sure if I have enough information to answer that question. But state again.
The special use will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of the other property in the immediate vicinity for which they're already being permitted to be used.
Yes, there will be no injuries. Yes.
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 No.
Yes. Yes.
3, the establishment of the special use or site plan will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate facilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or will be provided.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress designed as to minimize traffic congestion in public streets.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The next one is about a public utility, so that's an NA. The special use in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it's located.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay, so a motion to approve the request for special use
A motion.
with no
I'll second.
conditions, made by Janie, seconded by Charlie. Matt, call the roll.
Charlie.
Aye.
Janie.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Tessie.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mike.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Site plan. It's going to sound like a repeat, but. The establishment, maintenance, or operation of the site plan will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comforts, or general welfare.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The special use or site plan will not be injurious, the site plan will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purpose already permitted, nor diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood which it is located.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
The establishment of the site plan will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate facilities, access road, drainage, necessary facilities have been and will be provided in the site plan.
Yes.
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 Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress as designed in the site plan to minimize traffic congestion to the public streets.
Yes.
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 Not a public utility. The special use or site plan, the site plan in all other respects conforms to the applicable regulations of the district which it is located, except regulations may be in each instance modified pursuant to the recommendation of the zoning board. So basically, yep.
Yes.
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 Okay, so then a motion to approve the site plan would be in order, and then I don't know if you want to put any conditions in it regarding the
Green space.
green space as shown on
I
the
think
site
that-
plan, or
yeah.
however you want to say it, but that's the only thing that I heard.
Like, so I move to approve with condition that they keep the green space as shown on the site plan. And Tessie, did you want to add, should I add? Do you want to add
As
anything
close
to
as
it?
possible,
Yeah.
or, right?
Yeah, as close as possible.
I think what you said is fine.
Okay.
because We can't really control.
Can't control it.
Yeah. I'd second that.
Can I,
Call the roll.
Mark, Rick, can I ask just a clarifying question of Mark on this?
Yeah. Yep.
Are we allowed to do this? To put conditions on green space when we don't have any green space in our requirements in our,
We actually are allowed to put
I say we've done it
conditions,
before.
even if they're not something that is otherwise required in one of our development ordinances.
Because it's called a
Yes.
condition, right?
Correct.
and they have to follow
I
it?
mean, the condition has to tie somehow to the property, but I didn't hear anything that, to me, was divorced.
And we
from-
said as close as possible to the green space shown on the site plan, which they've shown us a site plan with green space.
Yeah, okay.
Good question.
I appreciate your lawyer mind, though.
Okay, call the roll, Matt.
Charlie,
Aye.
Janie,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Janie, Tessie. Me, I vote aye. Mike?
Aye.
And Steve?
Okay. Thank you, folks,
Thank
that were
you.
here for the dispensary, the site plan, special use. It's
Good
been
luck.
approved.
He asked it.
I'm sorry, what's
It's
the
going to be
question?
discussed tomorrow, but there's a 10-day period within which people can file objections, so it won't be finally approved until, oh, boy.
Well, that would be the...
When's the regular
sec-
board meeting? I think it's the
Clicked on the
16th.
wrong button.
Well, there is a board
Part,
meeting, and
you know.
it is up for discussion, so that everybody can, kind of learn what happened tonight, although several of the board members are actually here.
It would be the
It'll
16th.
It'll be voted on the 16th. It's not a bad idea. I would say try to be here on the 16th for sure. Tomorrow's just discussion.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Next order of business. The next order of business is site plan approval. No, sorry, wrong page. Is going to be a special use approval filed by Professional Armed Transport LLC seeking approval of a conditional use permit for an adult use cannabis transporting organization for the property located at 4703 North Ellen Court, Peoria Heights, Illinois. So do we have the people representing Professional Armed Transport LLC? And do we have anybody outside that is here for this particular variance or special use? Anybody inside that's going to speak in public comments?
You guys are being so patient.
Okay, thank you. Just scares me. That means everybody's here for one thing.
I know.
Okay, Bill,
Good evening.
how are you?
Good, thank you. My name is Bill Engelbrecht. I am the owner of PATS, Professional Armed Transport and Security. We're sort of a family business. Not sort of, we are a family business. We are primarily a security firm. We do high-end security, in-person security for transportation of executive-level people, also of valuables, art, jewelry, cash. Our security is involved with events, businesses. An example might be, before I left home tonight, my phone was flooded for security at various businesses around town tonight where we supply security. The security is really a sort of a different kind of security. All the security people are seasoned former police officers or current police officers, retired police officers, or security people from the military who have experience. So our whole purpose in life is to deter any kind of things that might happen to valuables and to individuals and people or at events to make sure those kind of nasty things don't happen. Important reason for us to be here is that one of the parts of the transportation end of our business, which is the smaller part of our business, really is the possible transportation of cannabis. We applied, just like the former folks did, 500 pages in order to be able to transport cannabis to and from any place. So an example of what we might do is transportation of the cannabis from the firm that you just saw here to someplace else, or the transportation of cannabis from Delavan to that dispensary, or from a dispensary in Lincoln, Illinois to Chicago. So we just simply provide the transportation. In that transportation, again, it's a very professional organization, so we make sure that nothing is stolen and nothing happens to that property. Importantly, for this village, our city should know, is that there will be no cannabis at this facility. Zero, none. It's not allowed. State law says that we cannot store or do anything with cannabis at that property. So it's important that the state wants to know that we're qualified to make the transportation, but they don't allow us to do anything. You saw the last firm in here mention that if a truck may pull up and go inside of a Sally door, it's locked, the cannabis would be delivered and then it's taken home. So we would simply go back home, and at this location we would have 2 small vans. Hopefully at some point more than that, but right now it's currently set up to have 2 small vans at this facility, in and out. Very little traffic's going to be there. I spent some time visiting with all of the individual neighbors. Apologies to one neighbor on the backside. I haven't got a chance to speak with him yet, but the neighbors that adjoin are very familiar with what we're doing. We're already having conversations about some little things that we may do in terms of improvements in the facility. Julia promised me that when the building was sold that it was in good shape, and that's exactly what it is. We're very pleased. Some of you may know there was an insurance firm in there for a number of years, and an engineering firm in there. It's well kept. I'm just delighted with the condition of the facility. I showed on the site plan there, I showed you what it looks like right now. There's not a lot that we thought we could really do to change it, nor do we have an interest in change it. So we've done a little bit of greenery in the front, and that's about all that we're planning to do. We've done some painting already and some fixing up here and there, but that is our proposal.
I just had one question. You talked about a couple of vans. So will they be indoors or outdoors?
They'll be indoors.
Okay, and then, but if you had more than 2, you'd probably have to park some outdoors then?
Or someplace else.
Okay.
Because right now, there really isn't a place for more than 2 vans.
Yeah, that's what I,
And
I was assuming that you could probably get 2 in the building. I mean, I've
Correct.
been in the building.
If you've been in the building, you know that the big bay door that's in the picture there, it opens up, and I suppose if somebody really wanted to really shift some things around and I took some boards apart inside, I might be able to get 3, but that's not my intention. 2 is plenty for us, I think.
What will the vehicles have on them? Any branding or logos or anything that designates what you do?
It is most likely that we will not. It is something that we do not want to attract attention to. There are some untoward folks in town who might want to visit us if we were parked or left it alone someplace, so.
You had mentioned that you would deliver from the facility like the one we just heard from. You might deliver to that facility and you might deliver from that.
The law allows several things. Primarily, the law allows for the grower, someplace, any place, to deliver to a dispensary. And the law also would allow for the dispensary, when they need product, to call up the grower and say, hey, I need some product. So it goes both ways, but primarily the history of it is that the grower usually delivers to the dispensary.
Got it. And you're delivering only business to business, not business to consumer, correct?
Not unless I wanted to spend a lot of time in jail. Well, it's just... No, again, it's a 500-page requirement, credit to the state and to protection to all of us who are concerned about the product. If in fact anybody is concerned about it, they've got really tight regulations and rules as to what you do. The last thing in the world we would ever want to do is to have anybody come over there and find any cannabis at that location. That will not happen.
Sir, what about signage on this building?
You know, you raised such an interesting question that I thought that I wanted to do a little bit of signage for somebody who would be coming there, but primarily it will be delivery people or security people who will be coming to check in through our system. And so I thought I'd put some kind of a small, 2-foot by 4-foot sign out there. The last few days have made me rethink that, so I don't know yet, but it's been a consideration as to whether I want to put some signage there, yes.
You're kind of on the need to know anyway.
I'm sorry?
People that need to know where you are.
That's exactly what I have no interest in. I have no drive-bys. There's no people who want to show up to see me or visit. No, it's simply people. It's a destination. This is the address, and when they get, and if you've been down Ellen Court, you can
High
get
traffic.
down. Yeah, you can get down there and you can say, "Am I in the right place?"
You can say, is my car going to get stuck down?
And you're probably going to keep those trees as is. I mean, the building you say is fine around it.
Yeah, those are walnut trees.
Yeah.
And
So right now-
so right now I really want to keep the walnut trees. There's some trashy trees sort of growing along the side, so I've talked to the neighbor on the south side, and he's told I could do some cutting there, but they're sort of on his property. I'm trying to just keep things off the building that would eventually at some point fall on the building, yes.
Totally.
And there's not really, I don't think, an opportunity to put any greenery or things on the north side, because we're pretty tight over there. And someone, right or wrong, rocked in a good chunk of that premises. It's rock in the front, it's rock along the side, it's rock in the back.
There's a lot of greenery behind you, for sure.
Yeah, that belongs to a very tall neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
None.
And actually, so weaponry, that kind of stuff, none of that's going to be stored
Oh, no.
per se on the...
No.
Okay.
That was a good question.
It's my wife.
Okay. Thank you. And I think we said nobody has any public comments? Nobody here to speak on this? Nobody outside still, right? Okay.
Rick, this Ellen Court, I noticed that it's zoned I-1. How much of it is zoned industrial on this street and residential? I mean, this is an interesting street.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's residential very close to the
And,
industrial.
Next door.
you know, quite frankly, he's, I think 150 feet from school property. So the school actually owns a strip of land behind, at the end of Ellen Court,
The high school?
the high school. So it runs, it's a long ways to the actual school, but I'm talking from property to property line, you know, it's 150 feet. But about half of that street is residential and half, and I was just gonna, I had it up today and I,
Yeah, it's about the north half or north two-thirds, I think.
I mean, I'm not sure it really even matters. I mean, we've spoken to the neighbors are all on board. There's no one here to comment in the negative on this.
So there's as you come down Ellen Court, there's 5 houses that are R1, and then there's 5 parcels that are I.
Okay,
And that's kind of both sides of the street.
okay.
So on the direct across from him used to be Roto-Rooter, and now it's
Roto-Rooter was down there.
yeah, they just moved to Pioneer Park,
Okay.
and now it's some like landscaping.
Yeah, it's a mug and mowing company
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
And next door is,
On both sides is zoned I. On one side of you, there's a house, correct, where people live,
okay,
just a normal residence.
but it's zoned in I.
It's zoned in I. And then on the other side of him is like a 4-stall, I think it's a 4 or 5-stall garage. Yeah, he stores things. People, I know somebody stored their boat down there, just storage. They don't have any
No
residence
house.
there.
Okay.
But if you, I don't know if you want to look at, real quick, this skinny piece of land there.
Oh, that's
The high school actually owns that.
okay.
Really?
Now, the high school's way over here, but they actually own that piece of property going back. And this used to be Pabst, and then it was, as Pabst sold it off, they sold off, and it was also the railroad spur went back there. They had like a dead-end spur that went back there, and so it just,
Okay, which is like they have that behind the library now, right?
well, I think Williams Brothers owns that property behind the library, but
But it was the spur.
yeah, I mean, it went like right through Pearl, where Pearl's technology building is. That was the spur came off.
Okay. And even though that's owned by the school, it's still zone I.
It is. And I think, quite frankly, the reason, when Pabst and the railroad vacated all that and tried to get rid of it, because, you know, Pabst was being sold and stuff, neighbors and just anybody around just started buying. So I think the school just saw an opportunity to buy that, and then I think they ended up, like, right on the edge of it was part of their track. So they didn't want the boundary right up against their track, so that way it gave them a little leeway on their track and where they put the high jump pit and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. So, special use. A lot of questions for you, Charlie, tonight. So the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comforts, or general welfare.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The special use will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of the other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values in the neighborhood.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The establishment of the special use or site plan will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate facilities, access roads, drainage, or other necessary facilities have been or will be provided.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress egress as designed to minimize traffic congestion in the public street.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
It's not a public utility. The special use or site plan shall in all other, the special use in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except regulations in each instance may be modified pursuant to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So the special use in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district.
Yes.
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 That was a long one.
I have to paraphrase so everybody understands. The lawyerese. The lawyerese.
I might need to work on that.
Some of these just are like double negative. It's like a yes to a no.
They come out of the statute, so blame Springfield.
A motion to approve the special use with no conditions unless you can think of any.
I make a motion, Ray.
I can second.
Mike, seconded by Janie. Any other discussion on that?
No.
Matt, call the roll.
Charlie.
Aye.
Janie.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Tessie.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mike.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, Bill.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It wouldn't hurt if you're available.
Okay, now fun starts.
Is that it?
No.
No.
You wish. Fun is just beginning, Matt. Okay, conditional, so we have two agenda items pertaining to 1201 and 1203 East Kingman Avenue. The first is the rezoning application filed by KDB Group LLC seeking approval of a map amendment rezoning of the property at 1201 and 1203 East Kingman from the current zoning classification of R1 to B2. And then the second part of this, there's three pieces to this. The second part would be a variance request filed by KDB Group seeking a variance to eliminate the off-street parking requirements as set forth in Chapter 9 of the Article 10 of the Village Code for the property located at 1201 and 1203 East Kingman Avenue. Just for clarification, I sent out a note today, I don't know if everybody saw it, but I got a response back that there was approximately 1,100 square feet of retail space at this property, which would equate to, it's for every 300 square feet, you need one parking spot. So basically 1,100, you're talking 4 parking spots. So they would be required to have 4 off-street parking spots, and they're asking for a variance to eliminate that requirement and allow them to basically use the public parking, which is already on the street. So we're not, I just want to make sure everybody understands what number of spots we're talking about. And then the third part of this is the approval of the site plan of retail popcorn and candy shop to be at the property located at 1201 and 1203 East Kingman Avenue. So I think when we go to vote and do the finding of facts, we'll take each one of these separately. But I think at this point, we'll just allow you to give your presentation, and we'll ask questions regarding to any of the, the site plan, the parking. Obviously, we'll have to come back and revisit the zoning question. So, okay? Any other questions from the board on this one, what we're looking at? Okay. Okay. And then as far as public comments go, so the way we'll do this is they'll have their ability to give us their presentation. We will then take any public comments. We'll close public comments. We may have more questions, and then we'll get on with discussing the findings of fact. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Greg Berkland, the President and CEO of the KDB Group. We've had this property for over a year now, and we had some envisions of what we wanted to do, kind of like a bar, restaurant, things of that nature. Met some opposition through that. They didn't want the neighborhood to increase in traffic flow, and we kind of heard that loud and clear. So I've been diligently sitting on this piece of property, not doing anything with it, waiting for the right opportunity to come. And this opportunity actually came to me, and it was Pete Clarino's idea of doing a popcorn facility in this, which is, I think, a fabulous idea, being so close to the park here and also to Peoria Heights. This lends itself to the family versus what we were looking at, more of the restaurant clientele, more of the basically what it was, a restaurant clientele. So with this model that Pete's presented to us, it's a lot less in traffic flow. It's more suitable for that area. And so once Pete brought this to my attention, then I hired Farnsworth Paul and his staff to kind of run through some renditions of what it would look like. And tonight we'll present that to you.
Thank you. My name is Paul Corey with Farnsworth Group. So the slideshow is an early concept design back from March. A few of the things have been updated in the zoning packet that you all received, but just to show you the concept, the board may have seen this previously, I'm not sure, but we thought we'd walk you through it. Starting to look at the site, we have a really nice location between the park to the north and Tower Park to the southeast. We could see where, when there are events at Tower Park, then perhaps there could be some overflow clientele walking catty corner across the street to the Popcorn Works and Sweet Shop. There's a whole kind of concept story that we put together, built around the idea that there's this old Public Works water building, and it's kind of a cute little building, and it is kind of architecturally really suitable to a candy shop. It kind of fits well. The site has a collection of 4 buildings. There's the main pump house building that looks like a little house. There's the garage next to it, the the kind of barn roof building that houses the water plant operations office today, and then the tank, the big round tank at the back of the property. And what we're looking to do is to utilize the little house building and the garage and connect the two with the connecting breezeway to mainly the garage will be used to make popcorn, where they'll have a number of different flavors of popcorn. Pete could certainly speak to the operations of the business better than me, but that primarily would be the popcorn factory with the retail component, and then in the pump house building on the left is the upper floor would be kind of a main retail space, and the lower level where the pumps exist today is a space where they could have demonstrations. So you could popcorn making demonstrations, so people could look over the railing or go down in that lower level to see the demonstrations. And then we'll show you a concept for the back wall of that space. So this is the front of the building. In the updated rendering that was submitted in the zoning application, some of the landscaping elements and things were scaled back a little. I can show you that version as well. But the idea is to put in a glass storefront into the garage door of the garage, put the old garage door where there used to be a second garage door, make that a glass storefront as well. You guys can't see that at all, can you? You're okay? Okay. And then the main entrance would be the front door of the house-looking building. Just another view. There'd be a handicap accessible ramp off to the left side of the building that's in the image here. And then this is a view just inside the building. It's kind of just as charming on the inside as it is on the outside. There are exposed trusses, put a wood ceiling in it, and then it's just a very fun, playful area for the candy shop. So color and whimsical shapes and whimsical displays. And then to the left, you'll see a railing, and that's a railing that actually looks down. If you haven't been in the building, it's like a mezzanine that looks down into this lower level where the pumps are. So this is a view from the lower level, and we're looking at making that whole back wall, so when you walk in, there's just this full height, super tall wall with retail displays, kind of a library ladder. So if they were to use that to actually get products off the shelf, then it's just kind of a fun idea. And then the pumps themselves, we're looking at retaining 2 of the 3 pumps and putting a kind of a glass top on them, so you'll be able to look down and see the pumps, and and that's where the demonstrations would take place. In the back of the building is proposed to be a kind of a paved outdoor seating area. Another view. And this is another element, the arbor and the development of the property in this area is different in the zoning application. The arbor is not there, and we have an accessible ramp that's worked into it, and then a dumpster enclosure is located kind of behind the water tank. Then we had a little fun with the playing up some different ideas on the logo and the gnome idea and things along those lines. So I think, one thing maybe that we can convey through the presentation is just kind of the family feel and what this project is all about. I don't know what the hours of operation would be, but I can't imagine it would be as late as a bar or restaurant, and just seems, pretty conducive to, being closer to the neighborhood. And then this is the last thing I'll show, unless you want to look at a floor plan or anything, or the site plan I can pull up. But this is just an updated view where some of the landscaping has been scaled back.
So you mentioned the dumpster enclosure.
Yeah,
I don't
see
see that on here. I don't know if I'm,
I didn't either, that's why I was just looking for it.
oh, you know what? That's mine though, maybe. Hang on.
No, I'm looking at the one they just gave us.
Okay. Where would the dumpster?
That was after, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can go ahead and put it back up and we'll put it up or not.
Well, yeah, we don't. So I'm sorry, what was submitted to you, I believe is the plan that I have up on the screen now. I'm sorry, that was something that we updated after the submission. So it's actually, I'm going to draw it.
Yeah, if you can just kind of,
Close, Laura?
so what would be the enclosure? Like, what's the enclosure material? Some sort of fence or?
Yeah, vinyl fence be encompassed all the way around it, so you
Okay.
don't even see the dumpsters at all.
And then what is the material for the fence that separates it from the neighbor's property to the
It'd be
west?
another composite type of fence, a plastic type of fence.
Okay.
6 foot high, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Running down the full length of it, from Euclid to Kingman.
okay.
But stopping actually, they'll stop short of that, because there's a alley that runs through there.
Oh, on Kingman. Oh, right, yeah. They can't go all the way.
You guys said that currently nothing's going on with the water tank?
No, not at this time.
Are
It's just
there-
really
are there
cost
plans?
prohibitive to do anything with it, except for cleaning the outside of it, repairing it, and repainting it. But it all depends on Pete and how things do for him. If his pro forma looks very well and it's doing extremely well, then we'll definitely venture into that area and look at making additional seating for him inside there.
Okay.
But nothing at this time.
You'd mentioned demonstrations. What do you mean by demonstrations exactly?
Pete, you want to come up here and kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
I thought you'd never ask. We have all sorts of ideas for that space downstairs. You can do, toffee making classes, you can make fudge down there. You could have, just a few people come down to, through advertisement and say, we're going to do fudge for 2 hours and learn how to do it. Give them some ideas on the different flavors and different colors of popcorn, and just kind of show them in a demonstration area how all the stuff kind of comes together for popcorn and candy.
And I think there was some correspondence. So and then as far as those areas, you said it'd be seating for 12 people? Is that the amount that you'd have in that area?
Yeah, that would probably be max. Depends on how, the pumps lend themselves to making a nice sturdy plexiglass table down there.
Oh, are you going to keep the pumps there? And
Yeah, we'll have 2 pumps down there to put real sturdy plexiglass on top of it to have it as a table to do the demonstrations on.
So that leads me to another question, because I've seen this building for years. I grew up, my paper route was on Kingman and Euclid, so I know that property well. But first time I ever looked in the windows, and the detail inside in terms of even the light fixtures and that door, that screen door, are you guys preserving all that? Or obviously you're preserving
Yes.
the pumps, so.
Yeah, we'll be kind of retaining all the light fixtures that are in there, and if they need a little help, we'll be, fixing them up so
Yeah,
they
one of them was
retain.
broken, but
And
one
then
of them looks intact.
there's also old meters and paper graphs in there from the old days back in the 1930s that are still in there, and we're
Yeah.
going to rejuvenate those, and they won't be working, but they will kind of look like, with our little gnomes and stuff, they might be getting some data off them and whatever to make it entertaining for the kids.
So then, even like that railing, it looks like you're keeping the same railing. That's a gorgeous railing and
Yeah.
staircase. Okay.
And the tile, are you preserving the
White tile.
tile?
Yeah, all that is staying. That's a beautiful subway tile from the 30s.
It is.
Yeah. So everything we're keeping exactly the same, even the trusses above on the ceiling we're keeping. Yeah, I don't know if you've looked at the top, they've got that ugly
like,
spray foam.
insulation or
Yeah.
something, yeah, okay.
So we've got several different options on that, try to make that look more appeasing, but everything's going to be aesthetically the same in that
Okay.
building.
And the floor, the terrazzo floors, right?
Yes, it is. And if I'm not mistaken, Rick, you probably remember this, they had actually a gold pond in that building on the top level that was on the floor with a glass top over it. So we're looking at maybe even trying to bring that back if we can.
So the goal is to keep everything mostly the same or keep it up.
Exactly.
And that's been your track record. I mean, Betty Jane, obviously, you guys went out of your way to keep a lot of the aesthetics there as well. So I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of Kim's fond loves is the historical, the history of a building. If you ever notice any of the properties that we buy, we always try to pay homage to that person who had it before us or built it. So, yeah. So like Gray Boy Lofts, it's, from Tote Gray. I mean, that's why it's being the Gray Boy Lofts.
I know when it comes to event spaces, you guys have it covered with a few now, but do you plan on any events being hosted here?
Leave it to you.
Well, we're going to kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. We won't, if somebody says, hey, we want to have, an 8-person birthday party or something, we definitely consider it. We want to be able to have them come, grab something to eat, and maybe even go to one of the 2 parks that are, right across the street. So it's a great opportunity to just get all the families in the neighborhood in the Heights to kind of join in and grab some popcorn.
It's going to be year-round operation.
Pardon me?
Year-round operation next year.
Well, it would probably be 11 months. January just kind of slows down, but we'll take advantage of the Christmas time. And then when January rolls around, cross that bridge, we'll get to it.
What about operating hours? I know there's a lot of concern from the neighborhood and neighbors in terms of operating hours.
Yeah, during the weekdays, we anticipate probably 8 o'clock p.m. for close down. Weekends, it depends on if something's going on in the Heights, at Tower Park or whatever. I think the very latest we would be open is 10 on a Friday or Saturday. That probably closed on Monday.
I'm just curious, for the third cylinder, what are you going to do with that one? Because I know you're keeping 2, which is wonderful, but what about the third one?
The motor, the pump.
Are you talking about the
Yeah,
pump?
I'm sorry, yeah, the pump.
We'll put it in storage somewhere.
Okay.
Just like what Mike Casey's done with the original Pabst
Right.
water pump. He has that, and I commissioned him to refurbish it and get it painted. So we're going to probably display that on the Pabst campus sometime. So,
Okay,
yeah, no, it's a great conversation piece.
for sure.
So I have a couple questions. One, on the zoning question, is there a reason you didn't just request a special use versus a zoning change? Was there a thought process there, or?
They can't operate a retail.
Laura, you want to answer that one?
It was required.
Okay, so Laura's a civil engineer with Farnsworth Group, and she said that's what the village suggested. It's a little bit of a messy
Why can't you get a
site
special
from a
use?
zoning standpoint, but
There are certain home occupations that can be operated in a residential district. This is a retail establishment, it's not residential use. So it's not people living there that are operating a, tailor shop out of their house.
I read it,
Yeah.
but you're
No,
the
it's-
expert in
it's-
that. Okay.
That would be disingenuous. I think it
Okay.
needs to be rezoned.
And then the parking question. So have you given any thought to, and don't get me wrong, I think your landscaping looks beautiful in this picture, right? But was there any thought given to creating, if you looked at the front of that building, you could probably fit 4 spots. There's 2 already in front of the garage, right? And then there's plenty of room for 2 more next to it and still leave green space. So was there any thought given to that?
Actually, if we did that, we'd be encroaching into the front entranceway to the building itself. Add more additional parking, so we did not do that.
And Greg, as far as on piggyback off Rick there, does KDB own any properties surrounding this area, maybe, for instance, across from Euclid?
Why, yes, we do.
Oh. So was there any thought process in that?
There is. I mean, there is a possibility we can do that. But yeah, that's the reason we bought that piece of parcel, just for this fact, so.
I mean, as far as the parking, when I was there today, there's I would say, at least 4 spots that are next to the playground. I think on your site plan, you show 6 spots on street in front of the building. And then along here, along from the first residential property here on Kingman, going all the way to Prospect, I just counted each section of cement as 10 feet, and, you know, you could fit, I think, 15, 20-foot spaces there.
Exactly.
I mean, and then also there's the village lot over here, which is generally empty, you know, in the evenings. I mean, to me, it seems like there's a lot of on-street parking.
You're absolutely correct, and that was one of the things we took in consideration, Paul and his group. We bought that parcel of land, that lot, for overflow, but that, we really don't want to have to develop that anytime soon, just because we want to be good neighbors, but we have the option to do that, so that's why we're just kind of making sure that we have plenty of on-street parking, which we do.
I feel like having that, also, if you know, if a house was built on that property, there'd be more tax revenue coming into the Heights than it just being a parking lot.
True,
I mean, so I'd rather see it become a house and have an intact neighborhood and leave the, you know, to me, unless there was some sort of major event, there's a lot of on-street parking.
You know, when we first looked at this project and looked at doing restaurants and things of that nature, you know, that was our mindset. We need more parking for restaurants and you know, for the restaurant. And then when the community, you know, voiced their opinion that they didn't want that in their neighborhood, and that's why we stopped and kind of sat back and just waited for the perfect opportunity. So this is presenting it. So are you saying that you want to go in development with me on that lot for a house?
Sure, I'd love to.
Can you tell me which lot
I'll
that
design
is?
it if you pay for it. How about
Just
that?
make sure you get the setbacks right.
Which lot are we talking about? I'm not sure which one.
What?
What lot are we talking about?
There's an old house that was demoed, and they bought it.
It's right over here.
Euclid and Park
Out the
Place.
back, so you go
Yeah.
out behind the the tower, the standpipe thing.
Yep.
And it's across Euclid, almost directly
this one?
across.
It's actually where Paul's pointing at, right here.
Might be the second one from the corner.
It's one off the
Yeah.
corner, yeah. I have a question about if we, obviously, we're just making a recommendation for the rezoning. It actually goes to the board to approve the rezoning.
Correct.
I don't know, is there any possibility, I mean, I know some of the concerns where we rezone the property, it becomes a business property, this business maybe doesn't take off, then later it can become a bar or something that might be more disruptive to the neighborhood. Is there any, we can't really conditionally rezone, can we? Yeah, I didn't think so.
So
Sorry,
zoning, you can condition the
parking variance.
The variance.
And if they improve the property by 10%, it would have to be a site plan review.
Then there'd be another site plan review.
If another business comes in.
Right, so say they change it into a restaurant, if they improve the property 10% of the value,
They
which
would,
they
'cause
almost
they'd
have
put a
to.
kitchen in.
Right.
But keep in mind, you own that property. We lease it from
That's
you.
a lease, that's what, exactly.
Well, I'm just saying, but if you wanted to put a restaurant in there, right, under your lease.
Yeah, I would have done that already.
No, I'm just saying, and you improve the property, there'd be another site plan review would have to happen.
Right.
Number one. Number two, like Mark was saying, the variance can be conditioned on the use, it already is, a variance by nature.
Variances are tied to the use.
So if
So the parking variance could be tied to this
But that
specific
would be an appropriate condition to granting the parking variance, that it's tied strictly to the
To the
candy
use.
shop use.
Yep.
Okay.
And that any change in the use would
It
negate
generally,
the variance.
it is in general, but
I
to
think
make
as a
it
general
clear.
matter,
it
a
would probably be a
change
good
in
idea.
use, sometimes there's debate over, is it a change in the use, but.
So we'd be
you know,
just safer if we put
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And then, so where you said you're putting that dumpster. So I was just looking at I know these pictures are probably 10 years old on Google. It shows some bushes and trees there. Have those been taken out?
No, they're still there.
They're still there?
Yep.
But you would take those out and to put that, because I mean, they're pretty big
Yeah.
on the back side of that.
Yeah, we're avoiding that.
Yeah, we were totally avoiding that. We were keeping them there.
The trees.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. We were going to the left of it.
Then isn't it up on a wall there?
Yes, it is.
So
It's
how
probably
would
about
a
a foot and a
truck-
half higher.
That was going to be my next
elevation.
question
So
is,
the-
how
is
is
the
the
truck
garbage
able
truck
to-
going to get in there?
Yeah.
Go ahead. So we'll cut it down. So we're going to have to cut down, put little retaining walls around. So part of the screen will be a retaining wall, and then it'll be a fence on top of the retaining wall. The site is peculiar because it's like three sides of it is the front.
Right.
Yeah.
But that site is
all
the furthest.
front yard.
Yeah, and it's not only the uses for the popcorn works, but also the building on the corner. It has all the nice hardscape and the giant chessboard and all of that already. So we don't want to disrupt any of that. So it's kind of the furthest from the activity, and it also provides some easier access for a garbage truck to come from the I guess it's Park. Is it Park? Park Street, and kind of approach the dumpster fairly straight on.
So I don't know, are those trees?
Left of the tall
those tall trees.
arborvitae, I think.
So in here,
Yes.
in between the trees and the bushes, is that what you're talking about here?
I think so, yeah.
Yep, exactly, yep.
Okay, and so then you said you would put some sort of a cut down in here that a truck could get in there?
Exactly, yep, because we need to be flush with the street. to go
Right,
in, yeah.
right, and that's okay.
So in terms of the village actually owns the property.
Right.
And it's up to the property owner, I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, if, for example, it was rezoned to business, if the property owner wants to rezone it back to residential, can do that, is that correct?
You could absolutely do that.
So that would be under the Heights control in the future?
Correct.
It's a 99-year lease.
No, 20? 20 with
extension
10-year
of 10
options
years
to renew.
Okay.
I think they can take it to 40 years.
Okay,
It might be 10 with two 10-year options or 20 with two 10-year options.
okay.
So any other questions of the gentleman? I mean, we can bring them back if we need to, but,
Tessie asked all of them.
okay, thank you. You might want to just leave that up because somebody might want to point to it or whatever.
What's happening to the American Legion post area? Is anything happening to that building?
No, the American Legion building just stays as is, right? And
That's correct.
does the chamber still meet there, or is that not a chamber
Yeah,
building
is it
anymore?
in use?
It says American Legion now. It used to say chamber.
Yeah,
Yeah, the American Legion Post still meets there.
It does.
I think the chamber doesn't meet there anymore.
So it is, it is.
Is that true, Steve?
How often is that building in use?
That's true, chamber does not meet there.
Do we
I'm
know-
sorry.
Do we know how often, I mean, not that it matters, but I'm just curious.
building every day for the water department.
You do.
There you go.
Our
Okay.
water system is run out of that building,
Which building?
So,
the chamber building.
Oh, okay. That's where the computer,
Yes.
okay.
thank you.
I didn't know that that's where they moved it. It used to be in the pump house, right? So I always wondered, I wonder what they did with all that equipment?
But are there people that are at the building, like in terms of additional traffic, foot traffic or car traffic?
Just a couple employees in and out.
Go back and forth? Okay.
And I don't know how often the American Legion meets. Do they meet once a month, I would assume? Not more than once a month, probably. And I walk that route pretty much daily, and I'd never see anybody there, so. Maybe it's just the time I walk. I don't know.
And the water vans and trucks that are there now?
Yeah, there's none parked there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've pretty much vacated the use of the actual pump house building like a year or two ago, right?
Right, yeah. We used to use the garage after we moved.
Yeah.
But we don't.
It's, in terms of, we've got a couple letters from neighbors and stuff, and so in terms of some things, for you guys to be willing to, there were some issues like with how large that sign might be, at least in the rendering, I think the rendering we had, it looked like it was a very tall sign.
You had 9 by 4, I think, is what you had on is that still what you would, 9 feet tall by 4 foot wide is what you had?
What you want, Pete?
Which sign?
Right here.
That one, that's what I thought, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the front sign will be 9 foot high and 4 feet wide, and just the letters will be lit towards the Prospect side. On the back side, towards the neighborhood, they won't be lit at all.
If there were some, like if we wanted to put some conditions on that, possibly like if there were issues with the neighbors in terms of coming to maybe an agreement, possibly a smaller sign if that was an issue to the neighbors, or things like, would you be, willing to compromise on things like, maybe only staying open till 9 PM? I'm just trying to find a way that we can kind of work with the neighbors.
Yeah, definitely. We want to be part of the neighborhood, and we want to have it for everybody to enjoy. So, if there's some discussion and compromise come up to make it work for everybody,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. What was I going to ask? Oh, but there was also a sign on the back side too, right, on the Euclid side? Was there a sign? Right?
I think there is.
And-
That's the same size.
And it's the same size, it said it was the same size, but
Yeah.
is that not illuminated then, or what?
Yeah, if that one is to be installed, it will not be illuminated.
I think the one on Kingman is, the importance of it is trying to capture traffic from Prospects. When people are driving by, they have some indication of where they're heading.
Yeah, and it's important the color of that sign will be the color of the letters that you see on there. It won't just be a sea of white.
So kind of the rainbow of colors.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to read, we have 3 letters, and then we'll open up to the rest of the public comments for the people that are here. Unless these people are here, I don't think they are. Mary Beth Hales, is she here? Oh, you are here? Okay, do you want me should I just read this, or do you? Okay. I thought that might happen, so I'm glad I asked.
I saw on Facebook, I was confused whether public was allowed, not allowed.
Yeah. I saw some emails flying around about that today.
Yeah,
so.
thank you.
It sounds like my dog. My name is Mary Beth Hales. I live at 1129 East Kingman Avenue. I live next door to the pump house at 1201 East Kingman Avenue. I was not born and raised in Peoria Heights. I chose Peoria Heights when I decided to buy my first home. I wanted to make my home here when I bought my property in 2008, and I still want to make my home here. This is a residential neighborhood and is zoned as such. It is not part of the business district. It is full of families, children, all who deserve the benefits of come with living in a residentially zoned district. If it were changed as requested by this variance application, it would negatively impact the safety of the adult, elderly, and children who call this neighborhood home. When there are cars parked on Kingman during events at Tower Park, it is nearly impossible to leave my driveway as I cannot see traffic coming west down Kingman, and it is certainly not safe to back out into the street blindly. Many times a day, cars are moving down Kingman Avenue very quickly. If they cannot see a child stepping onto the street or coming out from between cars, or me backing out of my driveway, it poses a safety risk every single day with potential tragic results. I appreciate what KDB has brought to our community. I'm not against our community growing and evolving, but the place for businesses and business traffic is in an area which is zoned for business. It does not matter whether the proposed use of the property in question is for a candy store or another business. If the zoning is changed, it's changed forever, making our residential neighborhood subject to late-night parking in front of our homes at very late hours without regulation if in a year the property question is suddenly to become a bar or pool hall or a late-night restaurant. The street is 20 feet from where I sleep every night. I feel that it is reasonably expectation in a residential neighborhood to not expect constant disturbance late at night due to business parking right outside my window. To the village leaders, I understand that it is hard to say no when a lot of money is being handed your way, but I ask you to please consider the taxpayers and the homeowners and those who have been investing in Peoria Heights for many years now, and those who call it home. Mr. Blickenstaff is one of many investors for you, but my home is my only investment. I would very much like to continue to make this my home in a residential neighborhood which is accurately zoned as such as when I purchased my home. I'm asking you to allow us to keep our neighborhood residential in every sense of the word. Mr. Blickenstaff, if you care about the community, hear the way you say you do, you will allow the neighborhood to remain residential. For the safety of all those who live and visit here, for the sake of preserving residential status of the neighborhood that I call home, I ask that this variance application be denied. Mary Beth Hales, 1129 East Kingman Avenue. You got that for your record, right? Okay, and then Sarah Salek, is she in the audience? Okay. Hello, I would like to submit a statement for tonight's zoning board meeting. I would like to state my opposition to a zoning change for 1201 through 1203 Kingman. There is interest in the area for residential use. 2 new homes have been built right across the street in the last few years. There's plenty of available commercial properties in the village business districts that could be used to house the proposed business. I also worry about the effect on property values from being located near a retail outlet. I do not feel the surrounding streets are able to accommodate the traffic and parking demands of a retail outlet. Additionally, 9-foot signs are way too large for the property. Sarah Salek, 5105 North Prospect Road, Peoria Heights.
Looks like this one's signed at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of in the same sentence. It's right there.
Yeah, I thought this was who it was, and I was looking for the name because he actually emailed this to me, and I was like, I'm sure this is the letter. This is in regard to the popcorn and candy shop proposal as discussed on the telephone this past week that he discussed with me. That's what he was talking about. When we first learned of this new development for the old water station, it was proposed to become some sort of concession stand for Tower Park. Shortly after, it was suggested it would be a restaurant. This seems to have failed, and now it's back to becoming a popcorn and candy shop. My concern is if this candy shop is approved and fails in 5 years, does it become a bar? I would in no way support this, after all, low-density residential area. Additional parking will be needed with any business. Parking at Tower Park for special events is already at a premium. Kingman Avenue is reduced to a single lane at those times, as is a portion of Euclid, because of residential parking habits. People accessing the children's park on Euclid also add to the congestion. Residents will not want to compete with non-residents to park at their homes at any time. The children's playground on Euclid Avenue is another consideration. People circling the block looking for parking may be very easily miss a running child darting between cars. This could lead to a very bad end. Families and children from the area are frequently using this park. The concession stand for this population in Tower Park could be a positive addition if that's what it really is to be and remain. A restaurant or bar or concession stand or candy shop will all need to address another issue that many residents are aware of now. Animals coming up from Forest Park raid the garbage cans. Raccoons are very adept at making a mess of the garbage. Any kind of food concession will have the wrappers and other paper trash all over the place from this. Not to mention the bad habits of people contributing to the trashing our homes with blown-in garbage. In conclusion, I feel this Kingman Euclid area is very low-density residential area, should remain that way. Thank you for this opportunity to input this matter. Sincerely, Keith Holtzman, property owner of 1128 East Euclid Avenue, Peoria Heights. Okay, those are the 3 letters, I believe. That's all we had, and nobody saw another one today. I'm not missing one, am I? We had so many pieces of paper up here today, so. So other public comments on either the zoning of B2, the parking variance, or the site plan approval. Is there anybody else that wants to speak publicly? Okay, we'll start with you, this gentleman here. If you want to come up, use the microphone and state your name, your address, and then you could probably close the lid on that or something if you need to.
My name is Derek Smoji, and I live at 5105 North Prospect with my family, my wife and my 2 boys. My home's in direct line of sight of these properties, and I object to the request to rezone it, and I object to the site plan. Property is currently zoned R1 low-density residential because it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's surrounded on all sides by residential zone properties. All sides are residential. Other than village buildings, this one, the park, the fire station next door, all the properties above Glen are zoned residential. All of them are residential. People call it the pump house, and the reason is it looks like a house. It was designed to hide in plain sight a public utility function. It looks like a house, but it's being proposed to be changed into a commercial business with 9-foot rainbow-colored signs. It's a house in a residential neighborhood. The neighborhood has settled expectations regarding the zoning of this region. It's residential. It should stay that way, and the neighborhood's expectations should not be upset. This may be an interesting business proposal, but there are numerous other locations to carry it out. The Pabst building has numerous parcels available. The 4500 building has a parcel available. Junction City has numerous parcels available. The Quonset Hut is available. The Other Dog is available. The Zion Coffee Shop is available. The Wishing Star Boutique is available. The Identity Apparel building is available. There's numerous other locations for a commercial business. There's also high demand for residential properties in this specific neighborhood and within a stone's throw from this location. 2 homes right across the street and 1 on Prospect were bought, torn down, and new homes put up in their place like in the last 3 or 4 years. There's high demand for residential use in this neighborhood. Changing the zoning here is a foot in the door. Once it gets changed to some commercial application, a few years from now, who knows what will be the next tenant. The neighborhood should not have to mind constantly what the latest proposal is and come to these meetings and speak their objections. It's exhausting. It's a foot in the door. Here's kind of the most complicated and probably awkward and uncomfortable issue. The village has a financial stake in the outcome of the zoning board's decision-making. I think it's a conflict of interest. You all can take it up, make your own determination in respect to that issue, but here's what's going on. The village wants to rent the property, but there's not a signed lease. Attorney Walton can address this issue. There's not a signed lease. The village wants to rent it for $2,500 a month, and then they're going to let the KDB group sublet it to others, and I just find that to be odious and inappropriate. The most inappropriate thing, though, that I've heard this evening and in other meetings is the suggestion that a residential lot property would be turned into a parking lot. It's just like insane to propose such a thing. So, Derek Smoji, I object completely.
Thank you. You can go next.
Hello, my name is Sarah Mayer, and I reside at 5022 North Park Place. I moved in there 2 years ago. I'm not from Peoria Heights. I do have history in Peoria Heights. My father was the minister at the church here on the corner, Eric, for many years. I love Peoria Heights. I think it's a wonderful area to raise a family. I bought this house. It was my dream house. I was so excited when I moved in. The only problem was a little shack behind my house that needed to be torn down, and I was so excited when it was torn down, only to learn 6 months later that jokingly you might turn my backyard into a parking lot. I have a problem with that. My home, I worked hard for it. I do not want my property value to go down. You say you respect the area, and I do think you do. I think you're doing wonderful things in this area. This is not a place where we need business. There's plenty of areas in this area that are available to put businesses in. I appreciate everything you've done for my property value. This will only bring my property value down. So I respectfully ask you guys to take in consideration the people that will be affected, not only by the parking, it's literally, look out my outside of my house, it's the park. It's just not right, and I ask you guys to not change the zoning. And why don't you tear it down and build a residential house? $435,000 house just went up. You guys could make some money.
Just one quick question. Are you equal, I mean, you obviously are not, I think that they would prefer not to put the parking lot there, is what from
Well,
what
I mean, I was
said.
just saying that he kind of jokingly said with, I don't know your name, yes, why, yes, I do have that, and that is a possibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's a ridiculous possibility.
Well, I don't think that, but if there was, if that was not the case, because what they're actually asking for is a variance for that, so that there is on-street parking, and that they're not actually even asking for anything.
No, I understand what you're saying. I just, he alluded to that,
Sure.
that parcel.
And I totally agree with you. I think that would be terrible to put
build a
in
house.
the
You can
middle
make a
of
lot of money. There's houses going up. Hopefully that house will sell for $435,000. I don't know.
But then even if that is not, that lot that is next to your lot is not a parking lot, you still have.
I mean, I think it's a really cute idea. It's just we're a residential neighborhood. We're not.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of clarify those two different
It actually is
issues.
really cute design. I think it's fantastic. You guys did a good job, but it's just not appropriate for where we are. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
I understand the comments that everyone has said so far. And my name is Betsy Barhorst, and I live at 5021 North Prospect, which is the newest house in that whole area. And our alley is across the street from what we're talking about. I do walk this area every day. And I see your little boys playing in the park, and there are a lot of children, and I see the problems with possible extra parking on the street. I don't know if there is some kind of ordinance in the Heights that people who own property can't have 5 cars in front of their house every day, but there are people who do that, and that makes it even worse. Now, I have some points. Number one, I assume that the business plan was done, that somebody studied, the predictive analysis says this could make money, because I'm assuming that's my first issue. There's a popcorn heaven, or whatever it is, within 2 miles of here on Lake or on Glen, right there. So I'm assuming it could stay in business. And again, we've said the history of the developers is that they have done their homework. So that's one. Number 2, parking, thank you though. Thank you for not using that lot that you cleared from that really dumpy house it was really bad. Thank you for clearing that. But thank you for not putting parking there, because that alley would become, I think, more of a thoroughfare unless things were done. So we're glad about that. And it'd be great to put a house on that lot, and I'd like to invest in that. Number 3, and this is my main point about this. This is an historical building area. This is something that once we tear down, will never come back. Part of the charm of the Heights, and I moved back here after being in and out many times. Part of the charm is you will not find something like this anywhere else. And the history that's there, is so rich, and I think the developers would keep the history. It's like taking an ugly duckling. I mean, if we don't, you sell it, and then it's a house, and it's no different. And it could be a house that's kind of ugly, too, because there's been an ugly home built on Kingman, as you're probably aware. And I mean a really ugly home that I feel so bad for those neighbors. So I think this would look much better and would be a way, you talk about property values. I would like to live near that. I see it as a continuation of the park. And as I tell people, I live within a block of 3 parks, Grandview plus these 2. I see it as part of the park, and I think it'd be a great idea. Now, number 4 is, however, if this were built, and even if it isn't, could somebody do something about the standing water that is across the street from it? Because it is there every month of the year. I check, it's there every day. So that's just a little side thing for somebody who walks there every day. My last thing is, I would really ask that this would not be an opening for more retail, at least for a while. If all of the houses get really cruddy around there, that might be a time for redevelopment, but I'm looking at that like 70 years from now. I'm not looking at that then. So to summarize, because I've taken more than I should, I don't think this will ruin property value. I think this is one more charming thing about the Heights that I would be proud to be part of. And thank you if it would close at 8, and that the sign isn't too big. And I come from a large sign company in St. Louis, so I'm really big on signs. But no, it can't. The church sign bothers a couple of the neighbors because of the red lights that it has. And so what is it, the VFW or something that meets, or that building, we see those lights. And it kind of, so I really ask for that. But my 2 cents is, it's a charming thing, and I don't think it'd bother my values, but please be careful with all these things that these people have asked for. Amen. Thank you.
Betsy, can I ask you before you run? So as far as just an agreement of all 3, with Derek and Sarah, you do not want that lot across from Euclid to be paved or made into a parking lot either. You want the...
You have to be very careful with that, because it's in a row of houses.
Right.
To make a lovely house. A house like the St. Jude house, or like ours.
Right.
Is that kind of a house with a 3-story.
Okay.
That has potential for that, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
But parking, I just think now there's an alley. And like when I want to ride my bike, because I'm not very good at bike riding, I ride it all the time, sorry. I go to the alleys because they're safer. When the trail is full, like yesterday it was, well then if you make the alley a thoroughfare. So I am sure, again, if I'm trusting of the developers, they would see that.
Okay.
And don't forget the money. You would get more tax money there. With that lot.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, absolutely.
So Jacob Lyon, 5043 North Prospect Road. Just bought my house. It'll be 3 years here in June. And not originally from Peoria Heights, not actually originally from Illinois. Moved here with Caterpillar 14 years ago. Moved around various areas, but when I moved back to Peoria, I had my eyes set on the Heights. I lived downtown for a few years because the real estate market was saturated here, and then this home opened up, and I couldn't wait to get my offer in and move into the Heights. I brag about the Heights. I talk to my colleagues and people who move into the area for my business, our company, that this is a place to seek out to move to. And the reason behind that is just the way that it is generally structured. And everything below Glen is commercial. There's a lot of areas, retail, bars, restaurants, places to walk to that we really enjoy. And I'll be honest with you, and Pete, you've seen me multiple times, I've generally spend my weekends in this area. However, I have to agree with my neighbors that this is definitely the residential. It stops at Glen, right? And you feel safe there. It's comfortable there. The congestion that we have already mentioned, I think, in terms of safety issues is definitely prevalent. There's people always parked in front of my house today, even on Park Lane, because they're using Grandview Drive and things to go walk their dogs, and that's fine. But adding another retail space right in that area is only going to cause more safety issues. And quite honestly, I do think it would have possible negative impacts on the value of my house. I know it would be a little bit more difficult to get a family to feel safe in that area, to be able to market my house towards. And if I would have known that it would have been a retail area going in, it probably would have questioned my judgment on purchasing that home. So I think we need to keep the retail where the retail is. I think it's maybe 80% saturated, possibly, on Prospect Road here. And let's fill those spots. I think the Atrium Hotel is looking for leasees to put in businesses below the hotel. Let's fill those, right? Pete, I think it's a great idea. I do. And I admire it. I just don't think it should be right here on Kingman. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments from the audience? Okay, so public comments are closed. So any other discussion or thoughts from the board?
Well, I think that based on at least what Derek, Sarah, and Betsy said, I don't, at least from the parking standpoint, the variance for on-street parking, I mean, before we even get to, I'm not even addressing the underlying issue, but as far as the parking issue is concerned, I don't think that, and it was not even mentioned in the, frankly, in the application, that the lot across from Euclid should be used for parking at all. It seems like that would be.
Well, that's not, it isn't.
Right.
You're right.
So again, it's not part of
the question
but what I
on
would
the variance
say is, what I would say is the variance would be necessary if we did move forward on the site plan, because there's no other way to satisfy our regulations for parking. I was listening to Jacob's story, and his story sounds a lot like mine when I moved here to the Heights as well. I kind of dropped in, parachuted into Illinois as well, and moved here for these specific reasons. I know that the board has given a lease to the KDB group for this facility. I don't understand, and I don't, again, I'm not sure what Derek was addressing. It sounds like he's a little bit more in tune with it than I am. But it sounds like they have a lease, and if they can't make a popcorn shop here, I don't know what they're going to do with it. They wanted to make a bar, and that clearly would be bad. And a kid's popcorn shop, I get what Betsy's saying, is that it's kind of an extension of the park, like what you would see in Chicago, like a little candy shop at a park. So I don't know what KDB Group would do with this lease if we didn't give them a candy popcorn shop.
Mark, just to be clear about the lease, so the lease is existing and the Heights is being paid for the property regardless?
That's correct. The lease is signed.
So we're being,
can't tell you
Heights
the
being
date
paid,
that it was signed, but it's been.
So they're being paid for the property?
Correct.
Whether something happens there or not?
Correct.
Can I raise the issue, Attorney Walton? When was the lease signed? I saw correspondence from April of this year, specifically from this village, saying that the lease is not signed. They want to reduce the amount that they pay, and they continue to negotiate the terms of the lease. I've seen the emails from their attorneys. Tyler Ethan, he's some attorney that works for a law firm.
This isn't the forum for us to argue about what happened. The lease was signed.
Can I ask, why would you have a lease for a commercial developer in a residential zone area?
we already made an arrangement with them to create a commercial business there. What
Okay,
what interest do they have to sign a lease on a residential area? What's the goal? What was the goal? If it's already, if you haven't had why would you sign a lease on a residential area and does not have a conversation with the person you're renting it from about developing it into a commercial property? That would be a terrible business decision. So the owner, my question would be to you and whoever is in charge of creating this lease, what promises did you make to this gentleman?
okay, let's back up 1 second. So the lease is with the village board.
Okay.
We're not the village board, so I can't answer those questions. You'll have to come to the village board meeting and ask them those questions. The issue before us, right, I mean, we are only recommending whether we change the zoning on this to the village board in the first place. But the issue before us is, would we, taking into account our zoning ordinance, recommend that we change the zoning to allow a popcorn stand? And that's the question before us right here. So it's not about the lease. It's not about the, my assumption is the attorney who's sitting up here with us, who's the village attorney, says it's signed, it's signed. Okay? And the question on whether they should have signed it, again, that's a village board question. It's not a zoning board question.
Right now, it's a question to you guys, and whether or not you should recommend it.
Correct. That's the question to us. Correct. It's not whether they should have signed it or whether it was a good business decision by KDB Group to sign it. But
You just think about that before you pass
yeah,
it.
understand. Understand. I hear what you're saying, Matt, because you look at that building, basically, I don't know what you could do with it. It would sit there vacant.
Could you make
You
a
can't-
house with it? Like, is that even?
Well,
could you-
I was in that house, I was in that place every day every summer, every day for 4 years, 5 years, because I reported to work there. So, I know that building. I can't imagine making a house out of it, number one. And number two, if you did, it would cost you, I don't know what, to put the necessary fixtures in that. It would be like $1 million renovation. And the fact that it just doesn't, the layout is just not a house. But anyhow, that aside, I don't think you could really, I don't think you could genuinely make a house out of it unless you just completely gutted it, took everything in there out, and started over.
Right. Or like a museum. I'm just trying to think of other things that could potentially go there. Like, would a museum be a thing? Could we make money on a museum? Like, would that be of interest? What do you think?
Are you done? I have some thoughts, but.
Yeah.
So, here's what, this is a tricky situation. I do feel, like I said, I've lived in this neighborhood as a child, raised a family in this neighborhood, and very much know this area. My kids we called it the tot lot. I don't know what you call the playground now, but we always called it the tot lot growing up.
Wiley Haynes Park.
Oh, that's what it is now, isn't it? So there's a couple of things. I think the building is a historic building. I think it's a really, really beautiful building. I think the worst case scenario is to get that building torn down and put a house there.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing details. I'd actually never looked inside of it till today, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that I agree that the previous proposal with a bar restaurant would be much more kind of invasive to the neighborhood. I kind of feel like this is, first of all, we have to deal with what is reality before us, is there is a lease to this other group, and they're going to try and find a way to do it. So that's happened. And what I would hate to see is this property continue to deteriorate and sit there for 20 years and nothing happened to it. That's not good for the Heights either. Vacant, deteriorating properties is not good for any neighborhood. So in terms of having it to be saved, I feel like this is kind of probably one of the best case scenarios, because I do think that in terms of a parent, in terms of having the park, having the tower here, I think it is a wonderful way of kind of having some more family space here, because that's one thing that has come up before, is that we don't have enough family activities in the Heights and family spaces. We have too many bars and restaurants that are adult-oriented. I think this is a nice thing that is much more kid-friendly and kid-oriented. In terms of the zoning with the neighborhoods, I mean, one thing that we've done on this board is we've kind of adopted, a more modern sense of zoning, which is more of a mixed-use zoning. We see that happening on Euclid. A lot of the streets that are from, Prospect East, there is actually a lot of retail businesses that go in that are side-by-side residential properties there. So that is currently happening in the Heights. In terms of the parking, I absolutely do not want to see that lot turn into a parking lot. I don't see this as a really, really high traffic business. I think we can absolutely accommodate the people that are in this area or will be going to that business on the parking that's on street, and also the village lot is overflow. Now, will there be some times where there's not enough parking? Absolutely. If there's a big big event happening here, there absolutely will be a parking issue. But that is, I don't think we should build our neighborhoods to, Christmas time retail parking, and things like that. We need to make sure we keep it a neighborhood and not have parking lots dividing it up. And the other issue is, I would absolutely be in favor of putting a condition on that parking variance that it is only pertaining to this retail business, and if a different retail business comes in, then they would have to come before the board again for a parking variance. I think also the fact that the Heights is actually the owners of that property, so they are actually, if they want to rezone it, it doesn't work out, and they want to rezone it back to residential, that's the owner's prerogative to do that, which would be the Heights. So I guess, to me, and like I said, with some experience of the neighborhood and my own personal experience, I really do feel like this is a nice fit to take a historic property, turn it around. Actually, I see it as being an asset to the neighborhood. Now, I totally agree with some things. I think 10 o'clock seems like a late for a candy store. The sign might be a bit too big. I think there's some conditions that we could maybe work with the neighbors to make it a little bit better. But anyways, those are my thoughts.
I agree with Tessie on the parking. I actually see that if it does go through, it's more of a walking destination.
Yeah.
Even if you park clean down on Cyberlane, behind Cyberlane.
Right.
I mean, it's only 3 or 4 blocks away.
Right.
It's no different than coming up here for Tower Park for an event. I see it as definitely more or less a walking destination rather than I'm pulling up, I got to park my car right here.
Right.
And Rick, you said it's 4 spots of the variances?
Well, it's 1,100 square feet of, so if you round up to 1,200 and divide by 300, you're looking at 4 spots is what, by code, that business would need to have. Now, and it doesn't, it just goes by retail space, right? Now, when you factor in that they might have some 12-person parties, that doesn't come into play really in the calculation per se, but just saying generally 12 people, I can't imagine all 12 people are going to drive their own cars, but so say there's another 5, right? So you're talking tops, 8, 9 spots.
It's still, it's still reasonably.
And that's not, and again, 8, 9 spots isn't every day, right? That's when they have a party or something.
Is there anything that we can do in this variance to address Derek's concern that this is a foot in the door to other, down the road, turns into a slots place?
Well, again, like we started out with, any change to the property, any improvement to the property of 10%, right, would have to go through a site plan review. So they'd have to come and give us a site plan review. Their variance for parking, if we conditionally make it for this special use, unless somebody is running a candy store in there, then they'd have to come back for a parking
That would be the
variance.
condition, that any change in use from a retail candy / popcorn store would require a new
site plan
variance.
and a new variance.
And we can restrict the hours of operation?
You can as a condition on, especially on variance.
Okay.
Since they're going to be parking in the neighborhood, I think that's limiting the hours that they do that, I think is appropriate condition on that aspect of the variance application.
Does the park close at a certain time?
Dark.
Dark?
Dark. Dark.
And the tower runs sometimes later than that.
10.
So the park can't be closed at dark if the tower runs at 10.
No, I don't know if he's talking about Wiley Haynes Park.
Oh.
I don't know that.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I don't know, I don't know, I haven't looked at the park ordinance in Peoria Heights. It's not part of the park district, it's part of Peoria Heights. So Peoria Heights would have to have some sort of park ordinance saying it closes, you know, that it officially closes, but.
Closes at dark.
Yeah.
That's the assumption in my neighborhood is
I'm sure it's a valid assumption, I'm just saying, I don't know, I haven't read the ordinance is all, and I'm not sure there is an ordinance. Well, I know, but a sign is a sign is a sign. I'm not sure who put the sign up. Could be, I'm not even sure the village put the sign up.
Well, I think definitely having some reasonable hours. I mean, if this is geared, the audience clearly is kids. I mean, I have a sweet tooth, but I mean, clearly the audience is kids. And I think 10 o'clock, I don't want my kids staying up that late, going to get candy right before bed.
Depends how old your kids are. Yeah.
Can we ask the gentleman who signed the lease a question?
Yeah.
Or developer, would you promise that it would be changed to a commercial? Right. So why would you sign that?
Wrote the building.
Okay, great. So why don't you restore it to a clubhouse? It's not about money.
Come and see it.
Sure. I live right there. Walk up the street. Absolutely. Yeah, the heights. Yep. Anything like that. This is shady. You guys know.
Can I address the shady part?
Sure.
If it's so shady, I would have done my own thing there and put a restaurant there or a bar. I haven't. I've listened to, please, let me talk. I have listened to you, and I've listened to your community, I've listened to the neighbors, and that's why I haven't done anything. I haven't put anything in that spot. That's why it's, what?
How can you put something in if you haven't received variance?
Good question.
I mean, it's totally a valid question. If you were promised something from
I was,
someone
no, you know what? You are assuming that there's corruption and there is no corruption? Really? You know, I've spent $40,000 on
that lot behind me that you want to put a parking lot in?
I spent $40,000 on the post, the American Legion post. I put a new roof on it.
Can I just address to the woman in the audience? It was a public process. I mean, there were meetings.
And we said no to the bar.
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just talking about, excuse me. Yes, could you let me speak, please? Okay. Yes, the lease signing was a public process. So I'm just saying that was not done behind closed doors. It was done before the village board, and it was a public process. I was sitting in the audience when it happened. So I just want to make sure we're aware of that, and let's not get off topic about what we're trying to do here tonight. We have still another whole issue that we have to do.
I mean, I have the utmost respect for Mike Phelan, mayor. He has done nothing but great things for this village. He should be accommodated. I mean, he's done great things. And for you to assume that there's something underhanded going on, there isn't.
Well, then just tell me why you would sign a lease for a building that's not zone residential or zone residential. Unless you plan to put something on our planet without.
Kim loves the historical part of the building. At first, we thought about putting Craig Miller in there, our architect from Bozeman, Montana, as an office. That didn't work out. Then we looked at other options. Maybe we put a restaurant bar, kind of like a Milwaukee, downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin type of feel. We got opposition from you and everybody else. We didn't do that. We're here to listen. Otherwise, I would have tried to keep this going and push it down your throat. That's not who we are. We listen to everybody. That's why we're here now.
Just don't want to business. That is a little bit, with
That-
all due respect, it is, I understand that you have your goals, and to us, it does feel a little bit like it's being ramped down our throats.
But no, I've had this.
Because it's,
Go ahead.
even when it was going to be a bar, I tried to reach out, nobody would even talk to me from KDB. I reached out to the mayor. I got email after email. They wouldn't even meet with us. So there's not a lot of good neighbor feeling that we've ever gotten.
Well, there should be. I've met the neighbors up here a couple of times, actually. I've had open discussions with them.
I'm happy to forward the email chain to anyone who would like to read it. So yes, it does, it's a residential neighborhood. It's where our homes are. I don't want to have to worry about getting in an accident every time I back out my driveway. I don't want to worry about not being able to sleep and be able to get up for work in the morning. Because the variance was granted, and it's now, I don't live in a residential district anymore. And there's people that are allowed to park on my street at all hours as if my home were a business. That disrupts my life. This is my home. And it does feel like this is being rammed down my throats.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, so a couple questions. One, does the board feel they have enough information to move forward with a decision on these, or anything additionally needed, or do you feel comfortable voting on it?
I feel comfortable voting.
And Rick, let me just make sure, everything we do tonight, minus the variance, is not a final decision.
Correct.
It will go to the village board.
Correct. So our suggestion on, or recommendation on the zoning change from R1 to B2 is a recommendation to the village board. They will then take it up, I believe, on the 22nd also. Is it? Or
16th, I believe.
I'm sorry, 16th.
But watch for the upcoming agendas.
Is it 16th? I thought we decided it was the, I'm sorry, you're right, the 16th. Sorry. The 16th. So as long as it gets on their agenda and gets posted on their agenda, I think is whatever their rules are for new business. The same with the site plan review will also be a recommendation to the village board on whether to approve or not approve the site plan review. The only thing that does not go to the village board is the variance granted on parking, correct? Okay. We'll start, well, there is no findings of fact for the zoning change. The zoning change is, again, a recommendation, so we would somebody would make a motion to either approve or not approve the change in zoning of the two parcels on Kingman Avenue from R1 to B2.
I'll make a motion to rezone the property from R1 to B2.
Okay. Tessie made a motion. Anybody want to second that motion? Or it will fail for second.
Let me ask you a question. This is my first meeting, true meeting. fails on this discussion, will it come back again?
Well, again, we would pass this on to the village board as a failed motion. They could approve it.
We're only making a recommendation to the board on zoning issues. They have the final say. So even if we approve it, it still goes to the board, and then they could not approve it.
Can I ask questions during this process, or are we done with all the questions?
Once we have the motion on the floor, it can be debated.
Got it.
Right.
That's fine, okay.
So, well.
So to open debate, I will second the motion.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to second it to start the process. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve it. So do you have other discussion on this? Do you have other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, I will say that on the rezoning to business, I mean, the problem that I face on this, and I totally hear everything that the neighbors have said, I just don't know what this lease does if we don't make it a candy shop. I mean, if we keep it residential, but then we want it to stay a pump house, well, who picks up the tab for that? I mean, who keeps that? Who pays for all of that to be kept up? I guess the entire village?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this seems like, I mean, I guess since it's village property, we would have to pay to keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have a question. I had more comments than anything. I haven't commented about this. You know, somebody had mentioned, somebody had said that we really don't have a lot of stuff for the kids to do in the Heights. And I would agree with that. We have the park, we have Tower Park, and in between we have this other facility. It's got the checkerboard there. So it's designed to draw kids already. I agree that the candy shop is not, it's more of a destination. I don't see a lot of traffic coming day in and day out. I would agree that it should not be open probably past 8, 9 o'clock at most. I think most people would be around the area. There's plenty of parking. They would be walking to it from wherever they are. They might even be parking on Grandview Drive and then walking over. So there's plenty of parking. So to me, the parking really isn't the issue. It's more of, do we agree that this is what should be there? I personally think that we do need more family-friendly things here in the Heights. I think that I know that they're going to be redoing the Tower Park for special needs kids to come and play in the park. So we're trying to attract and draw more people to this area. And so to have something like this to allow them, to give them something to do in this area without having to walk several blocks on a busy street down to, say, Emack and Bolio's, to me, it does make sense and seems like it is part of the park. Somebody said that it seems like it's part of the park. I think it was the young lady that spoke last. So I understand that people in the neighborhood are questioning it, but people are already coming and parking and doing all this stuff already. So I don't see it changing the makeup of the neighborhood and what's happening in here too much, other than it's adding to the flavor of the Heights. And it's bringing more family-oriented things to the Heights, which is part of what we're trying to do. It's a historical building, preserving that historical building, bringing the historical building to more people that can see it and look at the pumps. There's a lot of things that I think is good about restoring the building. So from a personal standpoint, I don't see it being an issue, and I think it will help the community. So there really wasn't a question. It was just my feelings on this. I mean, I'm from this area. I went to school in this area. I live in this area currently. So I would love to walk down the street and go to that candy shop. I wouldn't be the one that would be driving there to parking, but I definitely would love to walk down frequently. I just live down the street here. Okay, I have a park in my street. I live on Grandview Drive, and I have more cars going by and more cars parking. Hold on,
Okay,
ma'am.
public comments are closed.
Ma'am, you
Okay.
gotta let us talk. Okay, I've got more cars going down my street and more cars being parked on my street as much as you guys do. So I don't really see the difference.
So I agree with you, Charlie. The question is, this could sit there empty forever, which it will. I don't know what else you could put there that would generate any money. I mean, we talked about a museum, but somebody has to run a museum. Somebody has to want to go to a museum.
I wouldn't want to go to the museum.
The Heights had a museum, and we got rid of it. It was in this building. I'm with you. I definitely understand why you wouldn't want it to be a bar or a restaurant. I mean,
100% agree.
But a candy store, most people are going to walk there. Most people are going to come to the park and walk across the street, buy some candy, and come back to the park. I just don't see it being a huge.
I understand where they're coming from when it comes to the bar and the thoroughfare. I just don't see the candy shop doing that. If we are able to put the condition that it's only to be used for the candy and retail shop, and if anything else has to come back before the zoning board, and can we put in there that we would never allow it to be, not just a condition that it would stay this, but could we?
The condition is, it has to come back to the zoning board. The zoning board at that time has to make that decision.
Okay.
And then the village board would have to approve that, so.
So we have the ability to put conditions to keep it only what we would allow it to be, which would be the candy, popcorn shop, to never become a bar. We would all agree that no parking in the other lot. That would make zero sense, and we do want the property taxes from that. It makes no sense to do anything else. So I think we have the ability to manage and control this to make sure that it doesn't become something that would be a detrimental area which would be a bar and late night partying and parking and people drinking and things like that. These are kids and parents walking over to get popcorn. And they're probably going to be parking on Kingman right out in front. There's 6 spots right out in front, and there's 2 spots in the driveway?
Well, the driveway would be.
The driveway's, okay, got it. So I'm of the thinking that this would be good for the community.
So is there any other discussion? Do you have anything, Steve?
My only hesitation is I just want to, listen to them and listen to their concerns while I want it to be something that's profitable and amazing, and I love the idea of the kids, and I can see it, but I also want to make sure that we're keeping into account everything that they're saying. So that's all that I have to say.
It's just a tough use of multi-use zoning, and where do you stop and start it, make it better, make it worse? And so there's really no good answer.
Yeah.
Can't put the genie back in the bottle at this point.
No, and you go back to small towns, right? When that guy came last year and had quite a bit to say on this subject, this is how you make walkable towns. You designate a small area in residential areas that have, your retail or a small grocery store or a candy store or a.
Well, and actually, Steve, to your point about putting the genie back in the bottle, this is actually a unique situation in rezoning that it can be put back in the bottle, because if it's a private property, we're not in control of it. Once it gets rezoned, it's the Heights property. The Heights actually can decide to change it. So that is just a.
Yeah, there is that. And if it turns out to be a complete disaster.
Right. Or if somebody comes to the developer and says they want to turn it into a home.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll call for the question. Matt, call roll.
No, this is for the
just for the zoning? To the recommendation to the village board to change the zoning from R1 to B2.
Do you want to explain that we're going to have 3 votes, just so everyone in the audience understands?
Yeah, we will have a vote on the variance, and we will have a vote on the site plan also.
So this is the first vote on the rezoning. For rezoning, Charlie?
Aye.
Janie?
No.
Rick?
Aye.
Tessie.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mike. Steve.
So,
Motion
what,
carried.
6 ayes, 1 nay. Okay, so the second portion of that is let's do the parking variance. So this is where we need to discuss so that when we make a motion,
I think
And-
that should be conditional to
Conditional,
being
right?
a popcorn candy business.
right, so it's conditional to being a popcorn candy business.
Is that your motion?
Oh,
Do we want to put an hours restriction on there?
Would that
So
be-
I'm saying this as a discussion, so whoever makes the motion has to say
The things.
what conditions they want.
I think should have the most conditions on it because this is the one thing that this board can control.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the only thing that this board can control.
Correct.
Can we put the hour on the parking? Is that,
Again, you're being asked by the applicant to grant a variance from what everybody else has to comply with.
okay.
And as long as the condition relates in some way to the variance, you can put any condition you want on it. And it's my opinion legally that a condition on the hours of operation does tie to the traffic, the amount of car, there are issues with the time of day that the traffic, the parking, and all those considerations. So to me, the nexus is sufficient to justify that as a condition, if the board so chooses.
I was thinking it needed to be under the site plan, but I agree with you, that gives us the most control over what.
Yep.
So if we put a condition on the sign, what would we want it to be?
Well, the sign's
Well,
probably on the
sign-
site plan.
Site plan, okay,
That would be more appropriate
Okay.
on the site plan.
okay.
So hours,
I would say like 8 PM is reasonable, I feel.
I think 8.
No, it's closed down on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Monday. It's a 6-day operation, right? 6-day operation, Monday through
Maybe 9 on
Saturday.
weekends.
Average
8 during the week and
9 on weekends.
Okay. I'd be acceptable.
Yeah, because if there's things happening,
I mean, 10 o'clock's too late.
8
This
and 9
close to
on
noon.
weekends, or not 9
and
on?
we do have events here later than that, like if in the summer, well, when COVID isn't happening, there's still events here and people are still even parking around here
Yeah.
around 9 on the
Definitely not 10.
weekends.
So we're approaching pretty much the longest daytime hours of the year, and it's 20 after 8.
Right.
On weekends, I could see where,
And my parents own a popcorn shop
so,
and like.
so we said
people
8
go.
o'clock weekdays. Do we
9
want
on
to,
weekends.
9 on weekends?
Yeah.
What time normally do the events run on the weekends? Till 10?
10, yeah.
They have movies, like kid movies on the weekends.
I think there's a music, like the Poor Brothers closes their music down, I think by 10:30, or is it 11?
11.
That's, again, it's probably, Poor Brothers' music is not going to be the same
Exactly. but-
demographic.
Yeah, right.
Could I just interject one thing? I think Pete would like to be able to stay open as late as there's entertainment going on here with children and that, so he could feed off of that same kind of, I'm just speaking for Pete.
Yeah, but I think
Pete
when they
can-
have music festivals, I don't know.
I'm not
You
talking
might
about-
know, when the music festivals happen, what time do they close down the music?
It's 10:30 is the last song usually, I mean, it's usually closed, and we try to get it to close down the people out of the park by 11. I mean, everything is closed down, chairs are done. But we haven't had a music fest for 2 years, and I don't know if it'll.
Yeah.
Could we allow them, could we say 8 o'clock, 9 on the weekends, and if there's a music fest open, they can stay till,
Something special events.
on a special event, they can stay open until the end of the special event?
We could.
I like that.
Because that's, I mean, everybody's already there, everybody's already parking, what's the difference? I don't think people are gonna be coming new to park to go to the candy shop at 8:30, 9 o'clock. They're gonna be at the thing and then just walk over.
Okay.
We do have movie nights, that
Right.
one's not being.
So, but like if-
Probably will not happen this year with COVID deal going on, but social distancing, but last year we had all the movie nights once a month, so
But like, so
They
maybe-
last until about 10 though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like what he said.
So yeah, we
special
put a
event.
special event
Yeah.
clause on there. And then sign goes with
Site plan.
site plan.
Anything else? And even whatever they do with the next lot, they have to come with us, to us anyway, so we didn't have to address that. And that'll be site plan anyway.
So what about so we talked about these demonstrations, parties, that kind of thing that you're going to have in your, so is there a limit you're conducive to on how big those things can be?
Yeah, especially starting off, we need to keep it minimal because, we're making, the kids are going to be hands-on. So if we're doing fudge or taffy or bacon.
So if we set a limit of 15,
That's very doable.
so special parties, limit of 15. That's the only thing the only ones that I had listed. I don't know if anybody else has any.
Yeah, just referring to that comment, I mean, it's a small place, so your occupancy is going to be limited somewhat.
Yep.
Anyway.
So yeah, so that doesn't include what the fire department tells me, so.
Certification of occupancy.
And.
Is that almost repetitive? Because like I said, the fire department.
Yeah, but I mean, if they tell them 20, I'd rather be at 15. Okay. No, first we have to go through the finding. So this is findings for variance.
So let me just, on that 15 thing, so this is like a birthday party? I mean, this sounds like a birthday party I had with just my family comes and then I have maybe one kid show up. That doesn't seem like a lot of friends.
Well, I don't know, he was talking about demonstrations with 12, so I don't know what kind of parties he was talking about, but I just said 15.
All right.
I mean, do we, or is this for the parking variance? So we're going to do
Yes, just for the parking
before we do, don't we need to have the conditions set before we go through?
Well, the conditions come with the motion at the end.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So whoever makes the motion has to
include
include these conditions, and so.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Do we know, Mike, would we have any idea what the fire department would be? Is it based on square footage?
Yeah, there's a form, it's set.
Okay, because I'm just wondering too, if we're just.
When they get it set up, and then chief will probably, we got to reference it, square footage, how many tables, how many chairs, that kind of thing.
Just wondering if we want to, I don't want to bury this.
He's turning in the windows, you don't have a first floor going all the way across anyway. So you're going to have a counter and X number of people waiting to get whatever.
We don't know what that is.
And check it out.
I was just wondering if we could have less cumbersome, but, okay. Maybe not.
I just don't want to turn into a 50-person party place.
I agree.
Because that will definitely screw your parking.
Yeah.
Will the strict application of the terms of the zoning code relating to...
He went to the
Yep.
bathroom.
Oh,
So we'll give a second.
okay, we'll take a short break.
Did we lose our quorum?
Charlie ran to the bathroom.
Might be a record.
We're doing some things. I think there's some stuff happening in Jefferson City right now.
Is everything okay?
Yeah.
But there's stuff happening now?
Like, yeah, well, I know that we had to
Steve is coming? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. No, that's good. My wife was telling me that my wife.
No. Hey. How are you, Greg?
How are you doing?
So the question was on the pump house. They're talking about candy store. It's about 1,100 square feet, I think is what you guys said is retail space indoors.
Does that include the garage?
I think the garage is mostly like where you're going to make the popcorn, right?
Right, third of it will be retail.
So anyhow, about 1,100 square feet of retail.
Okay.
The question was, is if they wanted to have like demonstrations, so I don't know if you're familiar with the pump house, I assume you are. The bottom floor, I think where they're talking about on the bottom floor, you know, you go downstairs, you have the bottom floor, they're gonna have like demonstrations or kids' parties or whatever down there. What kind of occupancy limits are we looking at on that?
Well, according to NFPA 101, and this is kind of the figure that they go by, if it's standing room only, you figure out it's 3 square foot per person. If it's just going to be for standing room only. If you're going to have chairs, it's 7 square foot per person. And if you're going to have tables and chairs, it's 15 square foot per section. Does that make sense? So those would be the numbers that you would work with, depending on what you're going to use that space for. And it's possible to give them an occupancy permit with all 3 listed. If you're going to identify that it's going to be used for, okay, we're going to use this for gatherings where people are just going to be standing. If that's the case, this is your number. If you're going to have fixed seating, this is your number. If you're going to have tables and chairs in there that can be arranged, this would be your number. Is that clear as mud?
It is.
I mean,
That's the way it goes.
it comes from NFPA, so it's a tough figure, but that's basically the figures that we work with. Does that help you?
Yes, I
Yeah,
think so.
I think, yeah.
At least it gives you a start somewhere.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
So actually, it'd be leaning towards the standing room, since they got their products displayed.
Upstairs, but
Yeah, but I'm
downstairs
talking
would
about
be sitting.
downstairs, so that's why I
right?
think
That's true.
your limits are.
I think it'd be a mix.
It'd be a mix.
Yeah.
And
Probably around 260 square feet.
On the lower level?
What's the idea? Will it be standing room or will it?
That'd
Well, I
be-
just,
that'd
if
be
you just,
Chairs and tables.
So, but people are going to go watch over the bar, right? What do you say, They're not going to be down in.
3.
Will they be down in it with the demonstration, like watching, looking over?
Both.
Both, okay.
Standing.
Totally, I get it, I was just curious.
So how will, it's tables and chairs, just chairs? What are
I
you
think you
thinking?
said 3 square feet, right?
I think it's tables and chairs. The idea with the
Okay.
tables.
So 260 divided by 15, that's 17 people.
Yeah, so 15 's fine.
15 with tables 3.
Standing room only
15 with tables.
huge.
So-
Standing room would be 86 people.
Yeah,
But they get to get some chairs.
tables and chairs. So that's 17.
And they got a
divided by
counter.
15. So, I mean, 15 is limited,
So,
pretty low.
I guess
20.
we don't necessarily need
Might be
that.
simpler for us to.
Just let them do it.
So I guess we don't necessarily need that because they have tables, chairs, so there'd be 17, so it's.
So it's not gonna.
those covers are going to be over the pumps as tables, right?
Yes.
There you go. You got
So they're
those 2
gonna be
tables
limited
down
At least.
out of that 200
So
square
just let
feet.
them do it.
Okay. So, getting back to the questions that Charlie ran out on. Well, the strict app, I read the question, I looked over and you weren't there. I didn't even know you left.
Permission. Jamie said I could.
Well, the strict application of the terms of the zoning code relating to the use, construction, or alternation of the buildings or structures or the area to the use of the land impose practical difficulties or particular hardship upon the petitioner. Wait, so this is for the zoning variance for parking.
Does that one even apply?
Yeah, will the strict application of the terms of the zoning code, so the 3 spots,
I thought it was about building.
right?
4 spots.
4 spots.
Oh, okay.
Relating to the use or the building, basically, or the structures of the land impose practical difficulties, particular hardship upon the petitioner. So does he have space for 4 spots off-street?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a no.
Or no, right?
Will it impose a particular practical
So this
difficulty,
has-
right? Yes. So you said,
You're saying, wait, you're doing a double negative on me again?
yeah.
So
Well,
if-
I'm just reading the question.
Okay, do it
You
one more
can-
time, sorry.
Okay. Will the strict application of the terms of the zoning code, i.e. the parking code, relating to the use, construction, or the alternation of the buildings or structures, or to the use of the land, impose a practical difficulty or particular hardship upon the petitioner?
Yes, it will.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Gotta double check.
Lost my sheet of paper here, just a sec. Okay, if the variation is granted, the property affected by the variation will remain in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The approval of the variation will not merely serve as a convenience to the petitioner, but is necessary to alleviate some demonstrable hardship on the petitioner.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Can the variation requested by the petitioner be granted without substantial detriment to the public good?
Please repeat that.
Can the variation requested by the petitioner be granted without substantial detriment to the public good?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Yes. No.
Can the proposed variation be approved without impairing the general purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan as implemented by the zoning code?
Please repeat.
Can the proposed variation be approved without impairing the general purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan as implemented by the zoning code?
Yes.
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 If the proposed variance involves a fence, does not.
Well, it has one, but it,
No, that's not the variance.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's where we need the motion by somebody to either approve or not approve the variance
With the conditions.
with the conditions.
Rick?
And you can,
I'll propose a motion if that's okay.
you bet.
Okay.
I hope you wrote down the conditions so I don't have to tell you what they are.
So I will propose that the parking variance be granted with the condition that on weekdays, the business hours close at 8 p.m. On weekends, the business hours close at 9 p.m. And on special events held in Tower Park, it would be limited till the end of that event.
And business has to be a candy popcorn store.
And the business must be a candy popcorn store.
Okay.
That's my
it.
motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Sorry, I'm writing this down because I have to turn in a sheet. Moved and seconded with those conditions. Any other discussion? Call the roll, Matt.
And it was seconded by
Me.
Tessie.
Charlie.
Aye.
Janie.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Tessie.
Aye.
Me, I vote aye. Mike.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Motion carries.
One more.
one more and then another one.
Yep.
Okay. Site plan.
Are we talking about it or just voting on the?
Well, we'll have more discussion, I guess. Well, before we get there, I guess, will we place any conditions on the site plan?
I mean, I was thinking, like, the sign, I think there needs to be a condition to the height, like maybe,
Yes.
is it 9 feet?
It's
That's pretty
9
high. I
feet,
mean, I would
that's so
say at least max 6 feet.
That's all the fence, I mean.
Don't we have any sign
have a
ordinances
sign
already?
ordinance.
Do we know what those
Yeah.
are?
We do have a sign ordinance, so if you look at, I guess, how does that play into this? Because I looked at it.
We're not approving the sign. We're just approving the layout of the site plan. So this approval of this site plan isn't necessarily approval of the sign.
Can we put a condition in that the sign can only be so tall?
You love it.
We warn about
Yeah.
it. Should we, or should we let that, will they have to come forward anyways for the sign?
No, they would just follow whatever the sign code says,
Okay.
which
Either
is,
follow the sign code or apply for a variance.
Do we have a
which I think it
Do
could
we
be
have a
like,
height?
yeah, it's taller than 9 feet.
It's taller than 9 feet? Oh, I guess that would be, so I guess that would be my
I would say
suggestion,
that.
is just to make it limit.
I mean, I think one of the things that Derek specifically mentioned was that we have a 9-foot rainbow sign in the in the front yard. When we limit fences to 6 feet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
So we limit a fence to 6, and then we're going to have a sign that's 9. Now, I get what Farnsworth is saying in KDB's group, that we need to attract business to where this thing is. It's at the end of the day, it's what Derek said, it's a rainbow 9-foot post. So I think if we're going to put something in it, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I like 6 feet with the fence.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable request to.
I mean, if you look at the thing, we've got a sign on the front, we've got a sign in the front yard, and then we got a sign potentially in the backyard. So we got a sign right here.
Right.
We got a sign here, and then there's one on the other end. And there's something here.
Yeah.
And again, we're not really approving the signs or not. It's just the site plan. I mean,
But we can put a restriction.
I would vote for this not to be a sign in the back.
The only thing about the sign in the back, then it allows people that are parking alongside, like the park, the playground park, to know where they're going. That one may not have to be as big, since it's not going to be visible from Prospect. I was just trying to simplify it
Yeah.
and just say, like,
Well, I can understand just the neighborhood and trying to keep the signage to a minimum, and, it's on Kingman, you've got a sign on the building, you got a sign out front. To have one in the backyard, I think is a little overkill in terms of signage.
Especially if we're trying to keep, at least a little bit with the community in mind, because we don't want it there at all. So maybe less signage in the back.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I just was trying to think, I feel like the height of the sign is more of the, like,
Yeah,
the worst part about it. But-
I agree. And
I
with
do like
green
the way they've
space-
illuminated only to the Prospect side, so that's not being illuminated everywhere.
With green space, you guys are pretty much going to try to keep it pretty much as is, right? Because the buildings are already there, you're going to try to keep it intact. But I don't see, besides maybe the trash can, like you're not trying to take down any other trees. I mean, you'll approve that, I'm sure. But like as is with as shown, the green space is good. Looks like they're keeping all the trees.
Well, there's actually more green space because the
Right.
driveway is gone.
Exactly.
Well, like with the dumpster, it might work out.
So I would like, just like we did with the last one, I'd love to put it, since we're not there yet, we don't have conditions yet to say as is, or as presented, green space.
Fine with that.
So do we know the condition?
It sounds like landscaping, similar to what's presented
Yeah.
on the site plan. And then I don't know about the sign. There's two
Yeah.
different issues. Do we just limit height, or do we limit height and say no sign on the back? Or limit the back one more, or I'm open to ideas for that.
Do we want to talk about, because I know it was presented, so I just want to make sure if it's an issue for us about lighting with the sign, because I know a couple of you mentioned that lights, but the church was a light one, like, can we limit lights, or maybe we make sure it's turned off when they close, instead of leaving it on
Agreed.
all night? Because I mean, I understand that.
Okay, so front sign 6 foot high, lighting only towards Prospect, off when out of business.
Yeah.
Closed.
When closed.
Yeah, sorry.
And possibly no sign in the back?
I mean, to me, I feel like there should be one. I could see it being smaller, but I just.
So we want to say a 4 foot sign in the back?
Yeah, like 4 foot, something like in the ground, yeah.
Max 4 foot, you know, so I think.
I mean, is there any, can I ask the public, like, do you have any strong feelings about needing a sign in the back?
It would be nice to have, just simply because we can provide a rear entrance to the place.
Right, because there will be.
ADA as well as from the park.
Oh, that is the ADA
Right.
entrance, and also if we talk about it being kind of a place where it's kind of the playground.
To mesh it all together.
But I don't think a 4 foot sign is.
I think 4 foot's good. Thank you.
We're very flexible on how we come up with the signs. It's just really important that they see it off the prospect, no matter what we do with the one sign.
I think people will know, but yes, I understand where you're coming from.
Okay. We good with those conditions? Anybody else? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. So, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the site plan will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comforts, or general welfare.
Yes.
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 Excuse me. The site plan will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood to which it is to be located.
I guess my question, I was going to ask this
Now
question.
remember, we've already voted on rezoning it, and we've already voted on a variance. So
Right.
just
Yeah.
something to think about.
State it again.
The site plan will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood for which it is located.
Yes.
Because of everything we already voted, I'm going to say yes.
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 The establishment of the special use or site plan will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Adequate facilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or will be provided.
Yes.
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 Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress as designed to maximize traffic congestion in public streets.
Yes.
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 It's not a utility. The site plan in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district for which it is located, except such regulations that is modified pursuant to the recommendation of the zoning board.
Yes.
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 Okay, so we need a motion with conditions. Somebody wants to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so you're making the motion to approve the site plan with the conditions of landscaping as presented on the site plan and 6 foot maximum height of the sign in the front, lit towards Prospect, off after hours, and 4 foot max sign on the back.
With no lighting.
With no lighting.
So I second.
Okay. Mike, seconded by Janie. Matt, call the roll.
Charlie?
Aye.
Yes. We have somebody in here, so.
He said
Okay. Oh, okay. Janie is said aye too. Rick?
Aye.
Tessie?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mike?
Aye.
Steve? Motion carries.
Okay.
But before we move on, I just want to thank you guys for coming and sharing, like, the whole point of this open meeting is that everyone does come and share their opinion.
Yeah.
So we really, really appreciate it, and while it may not go in everyone's favor all the time, like, the fact that you came and shared your opinion, thank you.
And like we said, the zoning and the site plan will be taken up by the village board, I believe, on the 16th of June, right here. And so they're the final approvers of those two issues.
And Mark, they can, KDB Group can petition to have our variance, our conditions on our variance for the parking be removed.
No. Not on the variance.
If an application is not granted as submitted, removing the applicant can challenge it.
The variance?
Oh, the
Yeah.
conditions?
Yeah.
Board doesn't, your variance ruling is not a recommendation, it's a final ruling.
But it can be
They can
appealed.
appeal it.
Okay.
Either way, even, unless you granted it as submitted, then they would have no reason.
Okay. So the next order of business, one is, so is ever, before we get to the end of this, is, on the 22nd, so we were set to have our June meeting on the 15th. Is everybody available if we move that meeting to this 22nd? It's a Monday. It's the next Monday? Following Monday?
Yes.
Yep, I am.
So we had some snafus with the, some of the legal things to go in the paper.
We should make sure KDB and those folks are available.
You guys available?
Greg, we had an issue with the notice, and so we're needing to push it back for some period of time, 1 week. It makes sense, because we usually meet on Mondays.
Yep, that's fine.
The 22nd? Okay.
Yep. That's good.
All right.
Okay. So I'll work with Sarah to get that rescheduled and all the necessary. You're already on? Okay, great.
Thank you.
I won't work with Sarah to get that rescheduled. Okay, so there's only one, and then also in that June meeting, we will have one other, I think, application for a fence.
It's a front yard picket fence.
That's right. Yep. Yep, I can't remember where it was. I just saw kind of the first things of it. So we will have another one on the 22nd, so we'll end up with two. And the second one that we'll be taking up on the 22nd is we're going to have a discussion about right now. So under other business, we have the site plan discussion. So there's no voting going on, but just a discussion from the KDB group in Farnsworth on the Atrium Hotel. So I don't know who's presenting or who wants to talk to us about it, but we have a tree. We have a tree that somebody killed with a lot of paper up here.
I feel really great about it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's over Janie's by
I love it. It's fine, but there has to be grace somewhere.
I'm all electronic. Charlie wanted me to print a bunch of stuff this morning.
It's hard, I'm also really visual, it's complex.
Charlie wanted me to print a bunch of stuff this morning, and I wouldn't do it either.
He's trying to play.
I told you that I started to print, and I'm like, why do I really need to do all that?
Also, thank you guys for being patient and waiting this whole time, for real.
Yeah, well, they said that.
They were already involved.
They are.
She said that they were closing some stuff out in Junction City. He's here. I'm not afraid he's here.
16 and 26. So, 26. Yeah, so if you need a place to stay tonight,
Okay, so basically we have, is everybody familiar, right, with the Atrium Hotel and where that property is, et cetera? So you guys give us your presentation, we'll have questions, and then the next meeting, hopefully this will go a little smoother. They may have some additions or subtractions based on what we tell them tonight, and then they can present formally to us on the 22nd, and we'll vote. And so what we'd be voting on at that time is a site plan approval.
I think there was variances. There's a couple.
Oh, are there variances also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hadn't got that far yet. Okay.
So let's kind of do a show and tell and just kind of bring you up to speed what's going on.
Yep. And I guess also just bring us up to speed what's going on, kind of overview of the site plan, and then overview of what these variances are that you're going to be requesting.
Sure, I'll have Paul go over the variances. So kind of bringing you up to speed, we've been working through the design with Paul Corey and his team, and also Craig Miller out in Bozeman, Montana. In the meantime, we've been looking for a hospitality group to help run the hotel for us, because I have no expertise in that. And I looked at the Marriotts, the Sheratons, those types of flagship hotels. And I know I've said this before, but they did not fit the feel for Peoria Heights. They wanted something that was like 10 plus stories, pushing 150 to 200 plus rooms. The footprint didn't fit properly with the other developments around the area. So it really took me some time to find a hospitality group that was more of a boutique / lifestyle hotel company. And I did find that with the company called the Columbia Hospitality Group out of Seattle, Washington. They've come down here a couple of times. I've met with them. And so I just recently signed a contract for them to run the hotel for me. This hotel is going to be totally different from anything that's in Peoria. The only type of maybe feel that you'll get for this type of hotel will be come out of Chicago, as far as the fit, the finish, the pampering, the way we interact with our guests. It's going to be definitely a lifestyle boutique type of hotel. Super excited with Paul and Craig Miller as far as how they've been redesigning this hotel a little bit to make it more appeasing. We're also going to have some sidewalk terrace where we could actually have outdoor dining. We're really trying to bring the outside inside and vice versa. And so I'll kind of let Paul kind of take it from here. I mean, this is, he's been working on this diligently, try to get it to where it is now, so.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I think, if you don't mind, when I go to the next page, just see the page down, but.
Yep.
Maybe point at times to the screen. So this is just a view of a photograph from a few weeks ago that we edited the revised building into it, just to get a sense of the scale of the building on Prospect. And this is something that Kim Blickenstaff has been very sensitive to, and he's been trying to limit the size of the guest room tower at the back, or the multi-story building at the back. And so really, we have the two existing buildings here without the awnings that are there today, and then a new kind of two-story glass element down the middle of those two buildings, and we'll show you where that idea comes from. You've seen, yeah, that would be good. Advance. Maybe.
Page down.
Sorry.
The other thing is that we did limit it to 4 stories only. We're not going any higher. So that way, when you're looking at it, it's kind of in even sight with Larry Herman's project. So we're not going above him or below him. We're almost even.
in. And we are going to cap it at 57 rooms.
You just brought up something else. This two-story element is about the same height as Joe's Italian. Like they're almost dead even. So it's very similar in height to that. It is working, I'm not sure why.
It's just me because I'm the Apple guy.
Sorry.
Cisput, right here, right? Page down?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the development intent, you may have seen before, this has been in a number of the KDB presentations, and I think we're hitting on all of these items, some more strongly than others with this project, but it's, Kim really is trying to do something good for the community, what he thinks is good for the community, and I think this project's a good example of it.
Go ahead and try this. Okay. All right. There we go.
So I don't know if you've seen these images, these are drawings from Dick Doyle, the Peoria Heights architect that Kim is like now the #1 fan of. The Betty Jane building, I think this building, right? Doyle.
Yep.
So these were drawings that he did of the Prospect Mall. It says Prospect Mall on it even. What was constructed was only 1 story. So initially Kim was trying to build the second floor, but the structure wasn't designed to have the second floor built on it. But the original design was this 2-story building, and then there was this atrium space in the middle, which is the rendering here. So this is the 2 existing buildings, and today there's a space between the building. Kim's he wants to bring that back and tie the 2 buildings together and basically fulfill Doyle's vision of that site. At the back of Prospect Mall, there was a garden design for it, and that's where some of the vegetative and tree elements and things start weaving their way into the design. So here's an aerial view, Prospect, Duryea, the north building, the south building, the 2-story atrium space, and then the 4-story tower at the rear. The main idea, if you think you...
Did you want to talk a little bit about the variance that we're also going to do on Duryea, just kind of show it from a high level?
So I think there are 2 variances, right? The balcony and the terrace. There would be the balcony and the center box. Okay, thank you guys.
And the height.
Building height, the glass, and the encroachment onto the driveway.
On the Duryea.
Those were the 3 I caught anyway.
Yeah, and the height is the height relative to the Prospect. We need variance, the height relative to the ground elevation. That's
Okay. I guess I'm not clear on that one.
So in other words, measure the height of the Prospect. We're over the 54.
This part is too tall. All right, so there's a height of the building here relative to Prospect.
Yes, I'm not really not sure if that requires variance or whether that's
So you're saying if you measure it from Prospect, it needs a variance. If you measure it from what, behind it, it doesn't need one?
Yeah, in essence. I mean, because it's
Well, it goes
a
up.
continuous building.
There's a slope on that street,
Yeah.
quite a bit of a slope,
Okay,
so.
all right. Yeah, I don't know how you measure
So there's the height, what you'll see in the images is there's a raised terrace, not unlike what was done at 4500 Prospect. And the reason for it in both projects is the road slopes. And when you have long buildings, your floors don't want to step down with the road. When you have a bunch of little buildings, the buildings actually are stepping down the road, but when it's a longer building, you don't want to have a bunch of different floor elevations inside the building. So this is kind of the natural solution, is to create this sidewalk plane up near the building elevation, the building floor. And then the last one, there was one more, was there's a balcony off of the second floor of the hotel, and the balcony itself is actually extended over the right-of-way. So that's
To a canopy.
I'm sorry?
It's all
It
like
is similar.
canopy, I think is the way I move it.
And that's on the
That's on Duryea.
Duryea side.
Yeah.
And that's the 2nd-story balcony?
Yes. Yeah. So the main idea is that there's this atrium space that cuts all the way through the building. So you've seen the 2-story piece from above, and then it actually keeps on going through. And so there are kind of 2 front doors to the building. There's the Prospect side, and then there's the parking lot side. So I think most guests are going to be dropping off at the back and bringing their luggage in from the back. That's where the parking is. But then as people go out to enjoy the restaurants in the Heights, then they'll be leaving and coming and going through the front door. And then as really I see there's a plan for a restaurant in the south building. I can really see people that are not guests to the hotel but are going to the restaurant coming in both doors as well. So there'll be, some will find parking on Prospect and come in through the front door. Some will use the lots in the back and come in through the back door. But this whole space is really the kind of life of the whole project. It's the living room, the lounge, the lobby for the whole space.
How are we on parking? Good?
Yeah, we can get into that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There's a parking analysis in the back.
Well, and that's the one near the,
Yeah, so I've got-
okay.
Yeah, I've got the whole atrium behind me for parking, I've got the paths for parking, so I'm good for parking. And then I also did acquire another piece of property for additional parking.
It sounds like you, Greg.
Thinking ahead.
So the south building is a restaurant, the atrium space. The north building will be hotel amenities. We don't know exactly what those are going to be yet. And then there's the guest room tower at the back, and that's generally the layout of the building. This is a view from the southwest. So just showing the landscaping and the pavers that are going to be incorporated into the main hotel parking lot, how we're creating a connection. There's a stair and a ramp down to the Pabst lot.
So much.
And then, really trying to let the architecture, the elements kind of stretch across the alley, extend up Peoria to sort of make the whole site feel like it's part of the hotel. Greg had mentioned, there's a property, there's a house that, and then there's another property, the former church in a parking lot that they acquired, and so that's been.
Yeah, but another 40 more spots for parking.
And so we're looking at that, that's the furthest away, and so we're looking at that.
Is that an extension, or is there a house in between the parking?
Yes, there is.
So there'll be parking lot, house, and then more parking?
Correct.
And that's a residential house?
That's correct. Oh, well, yes. She lives upstairs and has a dance studio on the first floor.
Okay, so that there is a business there?
Yes.
But you meet the requirement before the church and then.
That's absolutely correct,
Okay,
yes.
So you
Yep.
can even see if you need that parking before
Exactly.
demolishing the house or anything like that.
That's right.
have you talked to the resident at all?
I've talked to her several times.
Okay.
She's a sweet lady. She is very sweet. And I just told her that, whenever she decides to retire, we'd like to, they'll have first option to purchase her house. So,
Okay, just curious.
yeah, no. Next one?
So that, and then we can start to see the balcony. This is the second floor balcony that wraps around the side of the building. There's a view later. You can see it a little bit better.
So another thing Columbia Hospitality Group is into is outdoor green space. So on this property, we'll have our own garden for the chef, for the cooking, his own herbs, just things of that nature. And we most likely will have beehives on the property too to harvest honey. And that's the kind of thing that they're bringing to the table is different, unique experiences.
Just for my own personal question, would you be open to having like a garden that is also for the community and not just for the hotel?
No, because there's not enough space.
Okay,
But the William Brothers has plenty of space.
okay. I hear
Just
you.
saying.
I hear you.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, exactly.
I would love to do that.
So this is the view from Prospect, looking into the bar. This planter wall, right behind it is the terrace, so there'd be outdoor seating on this side. We think at some point we'd create a plan to have a parklet. I don't know if that's the right term, but one of the containers for the street park.
I was just going to ask that, okay,
dining,
yeah.
For street dining, just, that's something Columbia said, absolutely, more dining out there the better. That seems to fit perfectly with the intent of the overlay district to get people out on the sidewalks. And then this is the main entrance in here. So the entrance to the restaurant is actually up in this space, and I think the next view gives a better look at that.
Okay, so that up
that upper portion, you said it's gonna have a handicap accessible from the north
Yep.
and come down and have stairs there and then more stairs down on the south end, right?
Correct.
And then, how wide is the sidewalk from the curb to that wall? 5 feet, right?
5 feet from the back.
Is that how
So,
far it
I
is
mean,
currently?
I was, because I was just reading this, and that's what I thought it said, but I was reading it fast, but it said that sidewalks shall have not a width not less than 15 feet.
Oh, yeah, that was confusing.
So, but you don't believe you need a variance. So I'm just trying to make sense of that. I'm on page 3 of this document. Anybody else?
You have 9 feet.
That's kind of, because then when you go to the sidewalk dining portion of it, it only, so if you include our sidewalk dining, we have 15 feet. But the sidewalk dining requires you to have a 4-foot walking path. So we've given a 5-foot clear walking path, but we have a 15-foot width in front of the building. That makes sense?
It's just part of it's elevated.
Pardon?
Right. Part of it's elevated.
Yeah, part of it's elevated.
10 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
You know how it is.
So there won't be tables on that 5-foot portion.
Correct.
No.
No, the 5 foot down below will not.
Okay.
So
We've
that-
even- Gotcha.
We've even, technically, we could, front variance is required, we could ask for that.
That's gonna come out past like
So how wide is your upper portion where you're going to have tables then?
I think the total is around 8 feet or 8 or 9 feet. Yeah, I want to say the total distance from the building to the sidewalk.
should be 15.
Do those
From the building to the back of that 5-foot portion is 16 feet, or from the building to the curb?
Yeah, curb lines.
So 8 and 5. Okay, and then a couple feet for the planter.
Yeah.
That's going to come out, that raised portion will come out further than the current sidewalk that's there, right? So I'll have the 5 foot, I'll have the raised, and then once I get past your facility and I'm at Joe's Martini Bar, now it widens back up.
Right, and if you look at the site plan, we've left room where you can walk through our 5 feet and then go, Joe's has dining out towards the street.
Right.
Yeah.
We have dining up near the building, so we've left room to make that jump.
See, it's right there. That's a good picture of it, right there.
Yeah, that's good.
So the upper portion will be their dining.
Yeah.
And then we've left this wall short so people, so we didn't have to disrupt, because Joe's is eating out on the outside both portions.
So, yeah, Joe's has the parking space.
Oh, yeah.
Dining, and then they have tables set up, their tables are set up along the curb.
On the, yeah.
Their walkway is on the other
This
side.
way and then kind of come in.
So instead of taking this terrace all the way to the end of our building, you'd have like zero space to be able to walk through.
Right.
So we pulled that terrace, we didn't end it that far, we pulled it up to the north so you can get around Joe's seating.
And then the parklet will be out in front of that.
Yeah, that would be, right.
Okay.
Likely there, and they may, they may ask for a second at some point if it gets, they find the need for
Yeah.
it.
But, hopefully we keep with the aesthetic of the building, because that's what's so neat. You have a boxcar in front of your thing,
I'm sure we'd clad it with some.
Sure.
Some of the elements on the building.
A lot of outdoor dining space.
The site slopes down to the south, like most of, Prospect. And so we're really picking up, the wheelchair access starts here, and it comes up very gradually, and then there's a gentle ramp inside this entry element.
Do the glass windows in that area, do they open up?
So this one, that's the plan, is for that to be an
Very cool.
operable glass wall to open up on those
Very
nice
cool.
days.
That's cool.
I might be biased, but it's going to be super cool.
Let's we get a permanent table.
can't even joke about that.
So, so the idea here is, this is the main entrance, so there's we want people to be able to see the atrium space. So it's pulling people into this recessed area. This is actually the door inside the lobby space. This is a door into the restaurant, and the bar would be positioned in this corner of the building. And so we're considering the idea of being able to actually be able to have a serving window direct from the bar to this outdoor space. This space, we're looking at a kind of a glass fire table. So we talked about, is it a dining space, but then in the wintertime, nobody's out there. So we're trying to, make it a little bit where where you have people out in front of the building for longer throughout the course of the year. So there's a built-in bench, and this is going to be a great spot to be waiting for a table, or as Columbia said, people are going to come here to get their drink before they go to dinner at other restaurants too.
You notice a sign, it's, the atrium, but it's low-key. It's not something that's being plastered on the building itself. It's almost nondescript to the point. It's not going to be intrusive at all. So it's pretty cool. It's thought out well. Same with the hotel, same with the restaurant. The restaurant would probably even have a much smaller sign.
What kind of a restaurant is it?
Can't tell. Secret right now.
Is that going to be somebody separate than the hotel group running the restaurant?
You know what? Most likely, I'll probably have Columbia run it because that's their forte, is running both the hotel and also the restaurant. So they're going to go hand in hand. So I'll have them probably manage that also.
Above that,
But I truly don't know what kind of cuisine that we're looking at this point.
above that flat area on the left of that, is there, yes, in that side, is there any thought about like a roof area or anything like that?
Yeah. It adds probably about a minimum of $750,000 more to their project.
Okay.
Yeah, believe me, Julie was going to pay for it, but
Phase two.
she backed out, I guess.
Right? Phase two.
Yeah, phase two, yeah, exactly.
You could fit a community garden up there.
Design for a second floor, you'd have to.
No.
The structure to support it.
But you did make a good point, though, as far as garden. We do plan on having some kind of greenery up there, so when you're at the upper levels, you're looking down and not seeing air conditioning units and things of that nature. So we are definitely looking at that and taking that into consideration.
Great.
There will be there's the terrace, there's this entrance space, there's a north courtyard that's yet to be sort of designed exactly what's going to happen in there. Off the back, we'll see a view where there are kind of paying homage to Doyle's original plan. There's a landscape space off of first floor guest rooms on the back, and then on the fourth floor, there's a smaller rooftop terrace. It wouldn't be for the restaurant, but Columbia's excited about all of those spaces and programming all of them.
So the fourth floor terrace would be like tied to a room or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, they do it where could be hotel guests can use it, or they can section it off, and it's tied directly to a room. And,
Are we
They're
concerned?
pretty interesting because they're nimble. They don't have like a cookie cutter hotel. They can sort of.
Yeah, that's actually why it's taken so long, is because, this is going to be a very unique project. It's not a Super 8, it's not a, courtyard. It's going to be a breathing, living part of Peoria Heights, so.
Yeah. Have we considered all, or do we have any concern at all about the plumbing with all of this, about the added plumbing that will go into around, like
Like the sewer infrastructure?
Yeah, sewer infrastructure.
I think the sewer infrastructure in that alley is pretty big, isn't it?
Is there any way that we
Yes.
can affirm? Because we do get flooding on that side, right? Am I right? Like back down there?
What side?
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty sure that when the rains come, especially when we take a little bit more trees off, there's flooding that happens on this side of the heights. Like towards this, like
Not,
west,
it's, you know what?
west, yes. Am I right or am I wrong?
You say this side,
Like-
this
like-
is nowhere near the hotel, so you're talking about down by the
Yes,
hotel?
down by the hotel. with runoff and things? I don't know, I'm asking.
No, you know what? The only flooding I ever had was the Pabst building itself, the basement, when we had that 7-inch
Right.
rainfall, and the Betty Jane had water coming in the back door.
Okay.
But nothing on the parking lot of the Pabst property or the atrium.
Okay.
Well, none
Or
of
the
those
basement.
businesses, Joe's, the gallery, none of those have water problems.
No, they do
either.
not.
But
Nope.
with added people and plumbing, there's gonna be a rush of new things. So I just wanna make sure that we're thinking about it, or that it's.
Oh, yeah, no, yes.
So,
Yeah.
we think, as far as stormwater, we think we're actually making it better, that we're gonna have more, 'cause today it's brick in
Right.
between the buildings, we're putting a roof, so that's the same.
Mhm.
And then it's alley and parking lot, so anywhere we're adding greenery in those things.
The greenery will help, for sure.
Actually absorbing more water.
But you'll have some sort of detention in the back.
Right now, we're not showing detention, we're decreasing the amount of impervious area. So we're not creating any more pavement in there right now.
Right,
Okay.
so it's, essentially you're helping.
Yeah. But check me if I'm wrong, the sewer runs down, is in the alley, correct?
The sanitary sewer is one.
I was talking sanitary sewer.
Yeah.
Sanitary sewer, right now, is the sanitary that runs north-south through the alley, right underneath the building.
Right.
That only serves that building and it dead ends right there. So the sanitary district will basically abandon that line. And then the line also goes east-west down the east-west alley to serve the properties to the west.
Yeah.
The west.
So that's what you're gonna tie into sanitary-wise?
So we would tie in, yeah.
And it's okay if you don't
Well,
answer
you're just talking
now.
about tying into the sewer that runs west through the alley down behind.
It actually runs, so it's probably not even shown on it. This is a sanitary manhole right here.
Yeah,
And the sanitary runs down here.
Right.
And then heads south.
yep,
And then there's also a sanitary that runs through here. This we're going to abandon.
yep.
But then we'll hook this system into, they won't let us hook into the manhole, but we'll hook into this main right here.
But either way, you can handle it.
that runs
yeah.
And
south.
The sanitary goes south.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. So this is a view, a couple more slides, I think. This is a view from the intersection of Peoria and Prospects on the left. So this is where a wheelchair can access from this side. There's wheelchair access on the back side as well. Here, this black element, that's the balcony that's sticking off the building and overhanging the right of way, or the canopy. We're actually looking at this side, it may not, the balcony will be on the back, but it may not have the balcony on this side, so it truly would be a canopy at that point.
Then we also have a new wall that is
There's a landscaping wall as well. This wall exists today, and it's actually in the right-of-way. It's a little retaining wall to get access to the doors of the
Yeah.
businesses that were there. And so we have another wall up the way here in front of the addition that's in line with this, so that wall too is in the right-of-way. This is the space on the fourth floor where the rooftop terrace would be. A number of these rooms, we're looking at having some balcony space for the guest rooms. The fourth floor, this was, I don't know if it started with Kim, when the fourth floor was looked at, they want to reduce the overall mass and size of the building, especially for Prospect. So the fourth floor, the walls are actually pulled in from the edges, and it just kind of breaks up the volume, so it's not just a big rectangle of rooms.
Appreciate it.
And this is a view from the back at the motor court. We're studying an option where this roof element would actually come out and become a porte cochere for people to be able to drop off under cover. But we're really trying to make an environment that has few curbs and it feels more like a pedestrian space and less like a parking lot. And that behind this wall where the trees are, that's where there's some outdoor guest rooms. These are guest rooms, or
doors coming from the guest rooms, be able to access that space. Yeah. This is a quote that Kim cited during the groundbreaking event that, I don't know, I think sums him up pretty well.
Yeah, he found that down at the Peoria Museum, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Pretty cool building.
Yeah, I actually don't have any questions.
Well, there's a lower floor to that building.
Yeah,
What's happening? to
Yeah,
that?
so that'll be services for both housekeeping and laundry, and probably, we might have some not retail, excuse me, we might have some office space down there. Still kind of planning that out.
The general manager's staff space, general manager's office, fitness room for the hotel.
Maybe a conference room, small conference rooms.
Will those be separated still, or will there be a connection between the two?
You'll probably be able to do like the divider walls where you separate it off, make your small rooms even yet.
Well, no, but the two buildings have their own separate basement, so will those be connected, or will they be separate?
No, they'll be connected, yep.
So that's it, that's
a wrap.
That's the dog and pony show, as Greg said.
Yeah.
Show and tell.
Yeah, show and tell.
Well, thanks for making the presentation. It's helpful.
It is very helpful.
And, you know, when I talked to these guys a couple weeks ago and asked them to do this parking analysis, if you look at this really, I mean, like they say at the bottom, there's not a minimum of off-street parking because we have that overlay district, and we talked about not having, you know, parking quotas per se. But obviously, this type of development, you know, you're going to have your parking, right? And I think they've answered that pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep. The only, I guess and the rest of the heights may have issue, but I understand,
Yeah.
you know, the PAPS parking is used currently for all the other restaurants, right? And not that that's a problem, because it's your property, you can do with it what you want, but that just from a board perspective, I don't, you know, not that we would do anything or ask these guys to do anything different, but it is a consideration that now that parking is going to be, you know, earmarked for their development. It's their parking, it's their land.
Well, I mean, I think Greg's had it on the other side. I mean, that's Betty Jane. I know that they've had some parking issues with some developments over there. And, you know, I think if everyone plays nice with one another, things can happen. But, you know.
Well, I'm just saying that the people that have the current restaurants, I think their hands are a little tied. There's no place, I mean, they don't have any place that they can make parking, right, other than the streets. So there's just going to be more street parking, which, isn't terrible. I'm just saying that's going to happen.
And then we put.
You know what, honestly, I'd like to see is that church that I bought, I'd like to be able to see all the employees from the other businesses actually park back there and make it mandatory that they park there, so that way we can allow our customers, people going to restaurants to park closer, so that we don't have such a far way to walk. This is my thought. But you're right.
Not a bad thought, but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out.
I have a quick question, sorry, I don't want to just, in terms of the height of the fourth story portion of the building, how does that compare to the PAPS building?
PAPS is probably another story and a half, 2 stories taller.
Taller.
Oh, it is? That's taller.
Yeah.
Just so far back.
The condo unit building is about the same. The condo unit.
Condo is 4.
The condo unit building that's right by you guys.
Yeah, Larry Herman's?
Yeah, so it'll be the same height as that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So his is actually 3, but we're at a lower level than his, so grade-wise it'll be almost the same. We'll probably be, another 5-10 feet higher than Larry's at the most. So.
And is this going to be in the BDD district?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for you.
Well, no, this Stephanie's just shaking her head that this will be a boon to that district. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think one thing that can be considered down the road, I know we've used a lot of the BD district for helping the businesses. out right now. But if they needed more parking, that was something that they could consider too with that BDD money.
You know, when we first talked to Mike Phelan about this, Mayor Phelan, a year and a half, probably actually when Hassel Levine started doing their study, and they said that, a hotel was needed, Mike was proactive in starting to put together a sales tax just for the hotel so he can generate revenue for that. So that's pretty forward thinking to capture that kind of revenue. So again, kudos to Mike, for doing that. So yeah. It hurts me, but.
So any other questions? So just, I guess this is food for thought study for next time, and June 22nd, is that the date we said?
22nd, yeah.
We'll give it a listen and go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Are there any other things that you would want us to kind of think about? I don't know, anything that catches your attention that you think might be an issue, or you might ask questions about? Maybe it's too early to ask that.
I don't think so.
I think you answered the question of the stormwater, which kind of balances out. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And especially if you do some greenery type stuff on roofs and different things,
Yeah.
that's going to make it even better.
Exactly.
That's a really good idea.
You're lucky you got the green spot behind where Pabst was anyway, because
Yeah.
that was all hard surface at one time. It was not with buildings and everything
Yeah.
else. That was all hard.
Yeah.
And when we talked a couple weeks ago, my main things were parking, and then I was a little concerned about that front area and the sidewalk dining and some of that, but I'm not now. It looks pretty good.
Good.
I'm glad you kept that 5-foot area in front. I mean, that,
Yeah.
right or wrong, some of the sidewalks become hazardous to me anyhow. There's not much room for pedestrians to walk around sometimes, I think, in that 4-foot area shrinks down to a couple feet.
Yeah, it does. Kind of food for thought, though, is we had arborists looking at all of our trees, and all the ash borer is starting to kind of take hold up here in the heights. So I know there's other trees on the other side all the way down that are ash borer. I don't know what you can do about it, but just keep that in the back of your mind that I'm sure we're going to lose our trees up front. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, what we can do, or what I can help you with, is trees that are better suited. So when that does happen, or if you do have to take them down, I can help you get in contact with people who can revive it or plant something else, because there are ways that you can go around it. But obviously you want to keep them as long as you can. But yeah, they do go down.
So we're looking, on the front of the building, we're looking to replace 3 for 3.
Right.
And then there'll be more. There's one in the atrium space, and then there'll be more at the back.
It just takes a little extra effort, just a little bit.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe tonight.
Yeah.
It's not good out there right now.
I know. It's kind of.